Chapter 34-38. They didn't even need to send their top masters. Just two young people and a 5-year-old boy were enough to defeat the Over-the-Wave Palace, which had a lot of masters. Good Tianpeng, this idiot, actually wanted to take advantage of the situation and rob the Xiaoyao school's achievements. Haha, Qi Menghui had already lit the candle of sympathy for him. Some people wanted to court death, and they even wanted to drag the entire Weiwei Pavilion to die with them. They couldn't be stopped. This idiot didn't even think that if Liberty City was so easy to bully, the Over-the-Wave Palace wouldn't have ended up like this. Why didn't the leader of the Luoyuan Alliance and the heads of the 6 families, who were watching on the side, take any action? Good Tianpeng didn't understand why Qi Menghui, who was as greedy as him, showed such an expression. He snorted and thought to himself, if you don't come and take a share, I can take the whole Over-the-Wave Palace for myself. Thinking of this, Good Tianpeng no longer hesitated. He waved his hand to call his subordinates and jumped to Mu Yan. City Lord Jun, it's an honor to meet you. I didn't expect you to be so capable at such a young age. After some small talk, Good Tianpeng immediately got to the point. Liberty City has just been built. I'm sure you must be very worried about how to manage so many people under your command, right? Now that the Over-the-Wave Palace has been added, I don't know how much effort it will take to digest and take over. Why don't the Weiwei Pavilion help you out? Hearing this, Mu Yin slightly narrowed her eyes, and a sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. It turned out that he was here to pick peaches. She said lightly, you don't have to worry about that, Leader Ge. We won the Over-the-Wave Palace, and we will naturally find a way to digest it. Leader Ge is so enthusiastic. Those who know about it will think that you are kind, but those who don't know might think that you are trying to take advantage of the situation. Good Tianpeng didn't expect that this little girl didn't know how to respect the old and love the young at all. She didn't follow common sense and started a series of small talk with hidden meanings, directly tearing apart his purpose. City Lord Jun, I'm being kind. Don't be so ungrateful. Qinjiu's fate was still unknown. When she woke up, she would be very sad when she thought of Yufeng's self-explosion. Right now, Mayan really doesn't want to deal with these disgusting people for even a moment. With a sullen face, she raised her hand, and the 7 Absolutes sword appeared in her hand. She looked at Gu Tianpeng coldly, without any warmth. Yes, I don't know what's good for me. So, is the Micro-Moon Pavilion going to be the enemy of Liberty City like the Over-the-Wave Palace? Do you want another blasphemous bet? The strange scene attracted the attention of Little Treasure, Ling Yuxing, Wei Mian, and the others. The Bishia's sword was unsheathed, emitting a cold light. Xiao Bao stood beside Mu Yan with a taut face. The demon binding silk and the absorbing magic needle are faintly discernible in Ling Yuxing's hands, and he similarly stands by Mayan's side. Mu Yan sneered. Whether it's a blasphemous bet or a confrontation between 2 armies, do you think our Liberty City will be afraid? Crown Wei's divine sense moved, and the 100,000 soldiers who were cleaning up the battlefield suddenly lined up and shouted in unison. Kill! 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 Good Tianpeng's entire body froze. He looks at Mayan with a mixture of shock and anger, as if he's looking at a lunatic. Was this woman crazy? No, the whole Liberty City was full of lunatics. Why didn't they play the cards according to common sense? It was obviously something that could be discussed, bargained, and finally found the best solution. Why didn't this group of people hesitate at all and want to fight and kill? Chapter 34-39. Gu Tianpeng's breath was stuck in his throat. His face alternated between green and white. At the same time, an unquenchable anger welled up in his heart. There were only a few masters in Liberty City. How dare they be so arrogant? Did they really not put the Micro-Moon Pavilion in their eyes? So what if they want to blaspheme? Did they really think they were afraid? Good Tianpeng was about to speak when he saw 2 figures flying over from the sky. 6th sister, 3rd brother, I'm back. Look who I brought. Shit. 5th brother, why are you here? Mu Yin looked up and saw Luo Yu and the red-clothed swordsman behind her. A joyful smile bloomed on her face. 4th sister. She didn't expect that Luo Yu would bring Lung Yuma back. As soon as Mu Yan's voice fell, she was hugged. The hands that were hugging her were so tight that she could hardly breathe. Lung Yuma's muffled voice came to her ears. "Little sister, I missed you so much." Muyan hugged back. She also missed each of her brothers and sisters. But she felt that it was not like the fourth sister's character to be so emotional. Muyan wanted to ask what Lung Yuma had experienced, but it was not the right time. Lung Yuma obviously noticed it. After hugging for a while, she pushed her away. "I just heard that someone wants to fight with our Xiao Yao sect. Is it called Over the Wave Palace? Come on, I have a belly full of anger and no place to vent." The red lotus soul stealing saber was unsheathed. A blazing flame soared into the sky. The flame seemed to be alive. It spun in the air and went straight to one of the micro-moon pavilion's disciples behind Gutiampa. This person's cultivation was at the peak of mysterious life realm, and he practiced a pure fire skill. His summoned beast was also a flame wolf. However, when the flame flew out of the red lotus soul stealing saber towards him, he felt completely suppressed and in extreme fear that he might be devoured. His body seemed to be firmly controlled, and he couldn't move. He could only watch the flame hit his body, and the intense burning pain followed. Gutiampeng was dumbfounded as he looked at the disciple who had completely lost the ability to fight. The blue veins on his forehead throbbed. He opened his mouth to speak. Within the carefree sex formation, the handsome young man, who hadn't even reached 20 years of age, walked forward. "Really, I thought that I would be able to slaughter those bastards from Towering Wave Palace when I rushed back. I didn't expect them to kneel so quickly." The young man glanced at the puppets and materials that had just been cleared out from the Over the Wave Palace. He then looked at Gutianpeng and smiled, showing 2 shallow dimples. "But fortunately, you idiots from the Micro-Moon Pavilion jumped out. Otherwise, fourth senior sister and I would have wasted our journey." Gutianpeng's face alternated between green and white. "How arrogant of you!" Before he could finish speaking, Luo Yu's divine sense and spirit chi were activated at the same time. Chirp! A crisp chirp resounded through the clouds. The red soul orb transformed into a huge red by Fong divine beast that soared into the sky and spread its huge wings. At the same time, the puppets collected from the treading wave palace began to move one after another. Under Luo Yu's control, they surrounded Gutianpeng and all his subordinates. The disciples of the Micro-Moon Pavilion were all stunned. They couldn't believe what they saw at all. Luo Yu smiled faintly. "Tell me, how does the Micro-Moon Pavilion plan to fight against our carefree city? Individual fights, group fights, or 2 armies against each other? We'll take them all on." Chapter 3440. In the sky, Ishu Esong, the leader of the Luo Yun Alliance, fixed his eyes on Luo Yu. There was doubt, shock, absent-mindedness in his eyes, but most of all, fear. But soon, he shook his head abruptly with a self-mocking expression. Was he crazy? How could he mistake the young man in front of him for that person? Regardless of age, appearance, or cultivation, they were all different. Besides, so many years had passed. How could that person still appear in front of him? Mu Yin walked forward slowly and looked at Gutianpeng, whose face was already livid, with a faint smile. She said slowly, "Leader Gu, have you thought it through? How is the Micro-Moon Pavilion going to make our Liberty City suffer? If you want to fight, Liberty City will certainly keep you company." Gutianpeng's mouth twitched. After a long while, he said with a dry smile, "Lord Jun, you must be joking. It's just a misunderstanding. I want to help Liberty City." "Oh, really? It's great that the Micro-Moon Pavilion wants to help Liberty City." A bright smile bloomed on Mu Yan's face. Leader Go also said that Liberty City has just been established and is very poor. Since Leader Go wants to help, please ask the Micro-Moon Pavilion to sponsor us with some cultivation materials and crystals. Gu Tianping's eyes bulged, and his lips trembled. He couldn't say a word for a long time. Shameless. How could the people of Liberty City be so shameless? He didn't want to share the Over-the-Wave Palace with them, but they still wanted to extort him. You've gone too far," Mu Yin said. "Oh." From Leader Ji's tone, "It seems that you want to fight. Fine. If you want to fight, let's fight." Boom. The 100,000 soldiers raised their weapons and shouted at the same time. If you want to fight, let's fight. The Bai Fong in the sky screamed, and countless puppets approached the people of the Micro-Moon Pavilion. The flames on Lung Yuma's red lotus soul, stealing saber, turned into a lotus and hovered in the sky. Leader, leader. Someone pulled Gutianping's sleeve in horror. We don't want to go back to the Micro-Moon Pavilion. Gutianping was mad, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, he could only swallow his pride. The Micro-Moon Pavilion and Liberty City are on the same side. If Liberty City needs help, the Micro-Moon Pavilion is naturally willing to help. The crystals and materials, I'll have someone send them to Liberty City later. Thank you for your generous gift, Sect Master Gu. After saying these words that could infuriate Gu Tianpeng to death, Mayan waves her hand. Xiao Yao army, listen up, we're going back to the city. Yes, Castellan. The mighty army of 100,000 had arrived in an earth-shattering manner, and then retreated like floating clouds and flowing water. Apart from the over-the-wave palace, which had been completely plundered, it no longer existed. It was as if nothing had happened in Embroidered Net City and Rainy Rain Mountain. However, everyone knew, from this moment on, Liberty City's name would resound across the entire floating island. It would replace the soaring wave temple as one of the 8 great sects. Leader, do you need us to investigate the background of Liberty City and Mayan? Hearing his subordinate's inquiry, Ishuesong shook his head. His eyes were deep. Don't act rashly. If you offend Liberty City like that idiot Gutianpeng, I'll make you suffer the consequences. Yes, this subordinate dares not. However, there's one more thing. This subordinate just got the news. What news? Leader, do you still remember that Xiang Yinzhou, the leader of the Sacred Heaven Alliance, had a strange illness some time ago and has been looking for a doctor? Chapter 34-41. Alliance Chief. Do you still remember the Alliance Chief of the Sacred Heaven Alliance, Xiang Yinzhou, who has been suffering from a strange illness recently and has been looking for a doctor? Just now, I received a secret message from the Sacred Heaven Alliance. Leader Xiang's illness has been cured, and the person who cured him is Jun Mayan, the governor of Liberty City. Ishuesong's pupils suddenly shrank. She's also a doctor? Even godly doctor, he couldn't cure Alliance Master Xiang's illness, but Jun Mayan could. She even caused the Lan family empire to send Wen Jian to die. I'm afraid that Jun Mayan's medical skills can no longer be described as good. Ishuesong's breathing suddenly became rough, his face filled with excitement and longing. He suppressed his surging emotions and said in a low voice, "Go and find out how Xiang Yunzhou's illness was cured. Also, send some gifts to Liberty City in the name of the Luo Yun Alliance. We can't afford to offend them." Yes, Alliance Master. Carefree City, floating island. Qingju slowly opened her eyes and looked at the familiar furnishings in the room, but she couldn't tell what day it was. His brain was sluggish, as if someone had dug out a piece of it. He couldn't remember anything important, or rather, he didn't want to think about it. A dash. Cries of surprise could be heard. Then, an ecstatic and beautiful face appeared in front of Qingjiu. The light in Yin Chuqing's eyes was like a sprinkling of starlight, and her hands kept gesturing. "Second brother, you're awake? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Does her head still hurt?" Qingjiu abruptly sat up from the bed, grabbed her hand, and anxiously said, "Xiao Qingyu, are you all right? Alive and well?" Yin Chuqing looked at her little hand that was tightly wrapped by the big hand, and her face turned red all of a sudden. Only then did Qingjiu realize something. She hurriedly let go, and her face turned the color of pig liver. Yin Chuqing lowered her head slightly and gestured with her small hands. "Second brother, I'm fine now. City Lord Jun has already cured me." Her hand paused, and the shyness on her face was slowly replaced by pity. A pair of limpid almond-shaped eyes stared at every change in Qingjiu's emotions. Her eyes were filled with worry. "Second brother, are you all right? Can you not be too sad? Annie, you had been living as a puppet for so many years, a walking corpse without freedom. She had long since grown tired. Being able to see you one last time and dissipate for you is the best ending for her. Qingzhou's expression froze bit by bit. The blank space in his mind was filled up bit by Yin Chuqing's narration. He thought of the wooden woman who had become a puppet. He thought of the broken walls that had exploded in front of him and were scattered all over the ground. There was also a drop of cold blood that fell on his face. Qingzhou's body started to tremble. He clutched his head with both hands and wailed like a beast in pain. Mother! Mother! Mother is dead. For him, not even his bones were left. Why did Mother have to die? Why did she abandon him again? Was he not good enough? Was he too stupid? That was why neither his parents were willing to stay by his side. Yin Chuqing hugged Qingzhou as if she was hugging an injured child and cried silently. She really wanted to tell Qingzhou, Aunt Yu actually loves you very much. Giving birth to Qingzhou and exploding and disappearing were both ways she loved her only son. She really wanted to tell Qingzhou, second brother, don't be sad. Xiaoqing will always be by your side. You will not be alone. However, she couldn't say anything. She couldn't give any comfort to the man in her arms. Other than crying and feeling heartache, she couldn't do anything else. Chapter 34-42. However, miraculously, Qingzhou's body stopped trembling. Her extremely sorrowful heart was comforted bit by bit. His ears, which could not hear anything before, heard Yin Chuqing's soft sobbing. Qingzhou opened her eyes and raised her head to look at the crying girl. She reached out and caressed her face. Xiaoqing, don't cry, don't cry. With tears streaming down her face, Yin Chuqing raised her hands and gestured gently. Second brother, don't cry either. As she spoke in sign language, she reached out and gently brushed Qingzhou's eyes. Qingzhou did not shed tears, but Yin Chuqing knew that her second brother was crying in his heart. She retracted her hand and continued to gesture. You won't be alone. Even if Auntie Yu leaves, I will stay with you forever. Qingzhou's entire body trembled as he stared blankly at the girl in front of him. In a hoarse voice, he said, Accompany me, forever. Yin Chuqing was usually shy and bashful, but at this moment, she mustered up her courage and took the initiative to grab Qingzhou's hand, nodding lightly. Her glass-like eyes stared at him without blinking, as if she was asking, Second brother, are you willing to be with Xiaoqing forever? Qingzhou was slow-witted and foolish, but at this moment his heart was beating violently, uncontrollably. He realized what little Qing was trying to express to him. So shy, so careful, yet so sincere and passionate. His heart, which was aching because of his mother's disappearance, was suddenly soaked in a honey pot. The pain was still there, but it was slowly healing. Memories from a long time ago resurfaced in his mind. In the past, everyone bullied, humiliated, and ostracized him in the towering wave hall. Only Yin Chuqing, who didn't know how to speak, opened her thin arms and used her frail body to protect and comfort him. Every time he saw this little girl get hurt, because of him, Qingzhou's heart would hurt 100 times more than his own. Every time he saw her radiant little face, Qingzhou would think that as long as he could keep that smile, he was willing to do anything. Back then, in the heart of a young Qingzhou, Yin Chuqing was the bright moon and the stars in the sky. It was blasphemous to even think about getting close to her. In this life, as long as he could look up from afar and silently protect her, it was enough. But now, Yin Chuqing actually took the initiative to grab his hand and said that she wanted to accompany him forever. What did this mean? Yin Chuqing couldn't help but grit her teeth when she saw that he didn't speak for a long time. She took a piece of paper and a brush and wrote down a few words. Second brother, are you not willing? The light in the girl's eyes dimmed bit by bit, and even the hand holding the cardboard trembled slightly. Qingzhou panicked and said anxiously, I'm not. Oh my God, I'm so worried. Second senior brother, if you keep stuttering like this, our future second sister-in-law will run away. Idiot, didn't I tell you not to make a sound? Bang. The door to the room was slammed open. Lung Yumao, Ling Yuxing, Mu Yin, and Luo Yu rushed in like a swarm of bees and laughed at the two people in the room. Qingzhou's face once again turned as red as a pig's liver. She pointed at the four people as if she wanted to say something, but she was unable to speak. Enchantress even let out a low cry as she covered her burning little face. Muyin looked at Qinjiu and smiled. Second senior brother, are you all right? Have you calmed down? Qinjiu revealed his signature, simple and honest smile. Little junior sister, I am fine. Hee, with second sister-in-law's intimate comfort. Second senior brother can't even wait to be sweet. How could his mood still not calm down? Chapter 34-43. Mayan slaps Luo Yu's head. Take it easy. What if you scare away our future second sister-in-law? That's right. Is it easy for our Xiaoyao sect to marry such a cute and kind second sister-in-law? Mayan shows Enchantress the most gentle and cordial smile and softly says, Second sister-in-law from now on, our second senior brother will be in your care. Enchantress's face is already completely red, and she's so shy that she looks like she'll run away the next moment. But hearing Mayan's words, the little girl still shyly nods and then hurriedly runs away. But she hasn't run 2 steps when Qinjiu grabs her little hand and firmly clasps it. Qinjiu looks at her nervously, and after a long while, he stutters, I'm willing, Xiaoqing. I'm very willing, very willing. Wow. Second senior brother, do you agree to his second sister-in-law's proposal? Looking at the shy and joyful Qinjiu and Enchantress, as well as the applauding Luo Yu and the others, Mayan smiles, then silently retreats. Are you going to enter Tianguang ruins again? Qi Huang's voice comes to her ears. Mayan nods. I'm only 1 step away from the 12 slaughter list's first place. No matter what, I can't give up halfway, right? Qi Huang says angrily. Have you forgotten what I warned you before? There's something strange about the Tianguang ruins of the floating island. From the 7th time you reached the first place, the entire Tianguang ruins began to reject you. This rejection becomes more and more intense the more times you reach the first place. Just as Qi Huang said, after Mayan reached the first place on the slaughter list 6 times in a row, she felt a strong rejection from Tianguang ruins. The method of rejection is very simple. It's to reduce her strength and luck value in the slaughtering world, and then increase her opponent's strength and luck value. When she just reached the first place 6 times in a row, Mayan was at her wit's end. But this situation changed after she obtained the 6-7 Despair swords and broke through to the golden immortal realm. Mayan smoothly reached the first place on the slaughter list for the 7th, 8th, and 9th time. Now, in the slaughtering world of Tianguang ruins, forces like the Pavilion of One Intoxication and the Moon of West River can only fall back. Only the old man's number 1 gang is the number 1 force in Tianguang ruins. As for Yi Liangchun, he was recognized by everyone as the one and only king warrior. However, from the 10th time onwards, Mayan clearly felt that Tianguang ruins' rejection of her had already reached a point where it couldn't be ignored. Qi Huang's voice carried a hint of warning. If Tianguang ruins' rejection of you at the start was just to create trouble for you, it now wants you dead. In that world where only divine souls could enter, if you really encountered an irreversible danger, no one could help you. Even Dimingju and I are the same. Hearing the worry hidden behind Qi Huang's cold and stern voice, Mu Yan's heart warms. She also knew that it was very dangerous to enter Tianguang ruins. But she had already reached the summit 11 times. She couldn't let her efforts go to waste now. Furthermore, it was impossible for her to abandon Xiao Guang, who was being controlled, and leave him alone in Tianguang ruins forever. Furthermore, Mu Yin is somewhat hesitant. I always feel that nothing will happen to me. Tian Guangshu wanted to kill me when I reached the top of the rankings for the 10th time. But at the critical moment, he always just a breath away. It's like there's an invisible force preventing Tianguang ruins from truly harming her, but it doesn't want her to know. Chapter 34-44. Maybe I've been with Xiaobao for a long time recently, and I've gotten the luck of being the chosen one. Don't worry, I won't die so easily. Qi Huang angrily rushed into the book tower and slammed the door. Do what you want. Do you think this sage cares about your life or death? If you want to die, then go ahead. This sage has no interest in stopping you. Sky Island, Tianguang Ruins. Mu Yin stepped out, and a huge pit suddenly appeared in front of her. She was careless and almost fell in. And at the bottom of the pit was boiling lava. If she fell in, she would definitely be scared out of her wits. Standing still in a state of shock, Mayan simply gnashes her teeth in hatred. In order to repel it, Tianguang Ruins didn't even care about the basic rules and rules. They even used this kind of lowly method of opening a lava pit on the spot. "Miss, are you all right?" Ma Quishan rushed over with the gang members after receiving the notice from Mu Yin. Seeing this scene, he was almost scared out of his wits. Mu Yin waved at him and said with a headache, "All of you go back to the gang and don't come near me. Otherwise, I won't be able to save you if you die from being implicated." While speaking, a black cloud suddenly condensed in the sky, and then a lightning bolt as thick as a bowl struck down directly at Mu Yin. Mu Yin almost cursed it out loud. At the critical moment, the zither sounded, and divine hands weave the heavens was activated, blocking the lightning tribulation. But even so, Mu Yin was still shocked to the point of vomiting blood. In the distance, hundreds of wild beasts were already flocking over. Even looking from afar, they could see that their bodies were several times bigger than before. Ma Quishan and the others were so scared that their faces turned pale. Although they wanted to help, they also knew that they were not qualified to be a hindrance here, so they could only run away in panic. Mu Yan's face turned pale when she detected the cultivation and number of wild beasts surrounding her. At this time, even she felt that Qi Huang was right. Tianguang Ruins was determined to kill her. Where did she get the confidence that she could reach the top of the list for the 12th time? With her current strength, it was impossible to deal with so many wild beasts at the same time. Moreover, there were cracks and lightning tribulations that could appear at any time. Mu Yin took out the floating light jade key and was about to activate it to leave Tianguang Ruins. Suddenly, the galloping sound of 10,000 beasts stopped. Thousands of meters away, the horde of desolate beasts stopped in their tracks. Some of them let out anxious and furious cries. Some of them keep rushing forward, pairs of bloodthirsty red eyes staring at Mayan. However, the strange thing was that there seemed to be an invisible barrier in front of these desolate beasts. No matter how they pushed and howled, they could not move a single step forward. Only 3 wild beasts managed to break free from the barrier and charged towards her with a roar. Rather than saying that he had broken free, it would be more accurate to say that he had deliberately let her go. Was it because he knew that with her strength, she could easily deal with 3 desolate beasts? Mu Yin slightly widened her eyes, and the floating light jade key that had been activated in her hand also dissipated its light. It really was an illusion. There was a force in the Tianguang Ruins that was helping her. Could it be little light? Even with the suppression of strength and luck value, Mu Yin still easily killed 3 wild beasts. Soon, another 3 beasts were released from the group of wild beasts. 3 after 3, Mayan's points soared like they were flying. Chapter 3445. Even if the ground still cracked and lightning fell during this period, she was prepared, so she easily dodged them all. Seeing that she's getting closer and closer to the top of the carnage list, the air begins to fill with a frightening sense of oppression. The joy of farming points disappears without a trace at this moment. Mu Yin takes out the Tian Mo Qin and stands ready for battle, her eyes slowly sweeping over the roaring wild beasts around her. This time, there are no more 3 wild beasts being released. Instead, black-clothed people appear one after another. In the blink of an eye, Mu Yin is already surrounded. The tip of her nose smells the strong smell of blood. These people in front of her are dozens of times stronger than the previous wave. This is the bonus of Tianguang Ruins. It's also the improvement of their own strength. In Tianguang Ruins, Mu Yin could never be a match for these people. This time, she doesn't even have the chance to activate the floating light jade key to escape. However, seeing them, Mu Yin not only doesn't panic, but curls up the corners of her lips. Sure enough, they came. I was wondering why the person who wanted me dead on my 7th appearance on the carnage list suddenly disappeared without a trace. The leader says coldly, "This time, you won't have the chance to escape." Mu Yin smiles and says unhurriedly, "Since I'm going to die, can you give me a chance to know which force wants my life? If you want to know, go to hell and ask the king of hell." These people don't have the slightest intention of dragging things out. The leader waves his hand, and everyone immediately bursts out with a strong murderous intent and rushes forward. However, before the two sides can start fighting, a whoa! The roars of the wild beasts behind her abruptly resound. The barrier blocking the horde of beasts has disappeared at some point, and then they rush towards Mu Yin like a tide. Of course, if they want to swallow Mu Yin, they must first step over that group of black-clothed people. Mournful screams and angry curses reverberate in the jungle. These people want to fly into the air and escape. Mu Yin has long anticipated this, and has arranged the inescapable net in advance. These people who rush up are directly cut and bruised by the sound blades, and fall back into the horde of beasts, trampled into meat paste. Mu Yin soars into the sky and looks at the black-clothed man who is fighting with the desolate beast. His expression is joyful, but also somewhat confused. When the man in black appeared just now, she had thought that if she removed the barrier blocking the beast horde, she would be able to fish in troubled waters. Unexpectedly, the person who helped her seemed to have guessed what she was thinking and acted according to her expectations. Even the timing was so precise. Who is helping me? Mayan looked up at the dusky sky of the Tianguang ruins. "Are you really not willing to come out and meet me?" What responded to her was the howling of the beasts below, as well as the rustling of leaves in the wind. Mayan doesn't insist any further. She plucks the Tian Mo Qin in her hand, and countless sound blades fly down. Right now, the most important thing was to harvest heads and farm points. However, at this moment, a black cloud suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, a bolt of purple lightning struck her without any warning. Mu Yin was surrounded by a sound barrier created by Divine Handweaver. However, the moment the purple lightning struck down, she felt a bone-chilling fear. If she was struck by this lightning, even with the protection of the sound barrier, her soul would certainly fly away and scatter. As soon as this premonition hits her, Mayan wants to dodge. Chapter 3446. Mu Yin sighs. Yi Liangshan really isn't good at talent related to the He list, so his points aren't high. There's still a lot of room for improvement, but you guys can't even get first place in the He list. This is enough to prove that the Dark Moon Palace doesn't have the qualifications to have a 6-star list. Isn't that right? Nonsense. Damn it. I think this list is fake, right? Yeah. What Yi Liangshan? I've never heard of him. If you have the ability, send someone to compete with us in puppetry. If the Dark Moon Palace loses, we'll leave on the spot. Mu Yin bites off the last bit of the fruit and throws the core into the trash can. Then she claps her hands and stands up, a faint smile on her face. That's what I was waiting for. Shao Qi, let these frogs at the bottom of the well see what a real puppeteer is. Luo Yu, who is squatting beside the chair, cleans his hands and slowly stands up. The youngster has fair skin and delicate features. When he smiles, there are 2 shallow dimples on his cheeks. His entire person carried a kind of clear and pure youthful aura that made people feel carefree and happy. But a clean youngster also represents weakness. Beitangi frowns and says unhappily, "Lord Jun, are you joking? Do you think that a kid who hasn't even grown his hair can beat us in puppetry? Whether it's appearance or age, Luo Yu isn't even 20 years old. He isn't like Mu Yin, who has already formed his immortal bone. Normal people can't use their divine sense to check the age of their bones. That's why Beitangi thinks that Mu Yin is playing with them. TSK, this little brother won't cry when it hurts, right? Huh, you don't even need to do anything for this kind of rookie. We can control a puppet and beat him until he begs for mercy." The disciples of the Dark Moon Palace are laughing. The people of the Thousand Swords Manor are gloating and fanning the flames. Beidang Xixiang, you should understand now, right? These people from the Xiao Yao sect are so arrogant and sinister. If you send out such an ignorant kid, even if you lose in the end, others will only say that you are bullying the weak. a disciple of the 10,000 Swords village, who had a short beard and looked to be twice the age of Beitang, flatteringly called Beitang, his senior brother. If we don't teach them a lesson, they will think that the reputation of the profound Yin Palace is something that they, this shabby little city, can casually trample on. Another member of the 10,000 Swords Manor looked at Mu Yin wretchedly and echoed, "That woman looks young, and her cultivation is not high. Who knows how she got the position of city lord? How can such a shameless slut be worthy of possessing a treasure like the 6 Stars Pagoda? Ha! If senior brother Beitang is really interested in her, you can bring her back as a concubine to play with." Beitang, he glared at the people from Myriad Sword's sect. "Don't talk nonsense." However, he did not say anything else. Instead, he stared coldly at Luo Yu and said, "Brat, you'd better go down quickly. Get someone with real ability to come up." Luo Yu stretched her body and said slowly, "As for me, I'm indeed the weakest in the Xiao Yao sect. If you want to get someone with more ability to fight, that's not a problem. But you still have to get rid of me, the weakest one, right? You can't even win against me, yet you still want to challenge my senior brother and sister. Ha, where's your face?" You, Beitang, he was furious. Chapter 34-47. Remembering Love Net in 1 second, providing you with exciting reading. Yi Jingyan was so frightened that he couldn't sleep for several nights, fearing that he would die without a burial place if he ruined the master's plan. Smack! Yi Jingyan was furious at the thought of this, and the specially made whip in his hand ruthlessly lashed at Little Light. Little Light, who was supposed to be unharmed in Tingguang ruins, howled in pain when the whip hit him. His entire body convulsed and wanted to curl up into a ball. Yi Jingyan finally felt the resentment in his heart when he saw him like this. This whip was specially made by the master. Although it couldn't weaken the little demon's power, it could make him wish he was dead. Keep a close eye on the changes in the slaughter chart. We can't let Liangshan reach the top. The subordinate smiled. Lord Jingyan, don't worry. The most elite assassination team has already gone to intercept that woman. After this period of observation, we've already grasped the method and the time she needs to leave Tingguang ruins. We won't let her escape this time. Even if these people really don't succeed, we've prepared a second plan. Saying so, the subordinate turned to look behind him. There were dozens of cultivators tied up and unconscious on the ground. As long as these human sacrifices are here, even if the death warriors we sent can't kill Liangshan, we can still turn defeat into victory at the last moment. Yi Jingyan smiled with satisfaction, and then a sinister and cruel expression appeared on his face as he looked at Light. "Do you think you can find a chance of survival by having that bitch as a backer? Hee hee. You didn't expect this, did you? The more times she reaches the top of the slaughter chart, the heavier the evil aura in Tingguang ruins, and the more you and the floating light island's gate will be eroded." This was also one of the reasons why Yi Jingyan's subordinates didn't trouble Mu Yin again later on. "Little bastard, you've miscalculated. Not only can Liangshan not save you, but he'll also accelerate your death and our success. Ha ha ha, soon, very soon, we'll get what we want. And you and that bitch will perish in Tingguang ruins, never to be reincarnated." Little Light slowly raised his head. The stray hair on his forehead fell down and drooped over his clear glass-like eyes, projecting a dark shadow. His figure was very faint, as if he could disappear at any moment. But his voice was still clear and resolute. "The first host will not die. She said she would save Little Light, so she will definitely save Little Light." Huh? First host? What the hell is that? This kid can't be an idiot, right? Ha! He's not a human to begin with. Perhaps he's just an artifact spirit born from the heavenly light ruins. It's normal for him to not have a good brain. The few of them laughed and laughed as time passed. Light, who was bound to the door, was getting weaker and weaker. His consciousness began to blur, and his memories began to dissipate. He couldn't remember who he was or why he was here. The despair of being abandoned and forgotten swept through his heart. He didn't even know what despair felt like. But in the midst of such despair, a voice rang out again and again in his ears. "Little Light, don't be afraid. No matter who the master controlling you is, I will definitely return your freedom. First host. First host, where are you? Will you give me back my freedom? I don't want to forget you. Under his drooping eyelashes, some sparkling liquid swayed, but then disappeared without a trace. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zii. Chapter 3448. Suddenly, an exclamation came from behind. Boss, bad news. Yankin has reached the top of the Carnage chart. Yan's relaxed smile froze. What did you say? Yes, it's the news from the Carnage chart. I'm afraid that the assassins we sent failed. Yan's face turned green and white, and he gritted his teeth. Trash. A bunch of trash. Yan's men had reached the top of the Carnage chart 6 times in a row, but none of them succeeded the 7th time. Why? Because it was impossible to reach the top of the Carnage chart while being repelled by Tianguang ruins. Every time they reached the top of the Carnage chart, the repelling force from Tianguang ruins would increase by 30%. In the end, even taking a casual step would result in certain death. Logically speaking, Yap Liangchun would have died without a burial place, even if he didn't send anyone. But what happened? Yankin reached the top of the Carnage chart again. The 12th time. Under such a desperate situation, he actually reached the top of the Carnage chart for the 12th time, although it was only temporary. How'd that bitch do it? Lord, what should we do now? Idiot. Yan slapped him. Do you still need to ask? Do you want to see that bitch reach the top of the Carnage chart for the 12th time in a row and let all our efforts go to waste? The subordinate immediately pulled a few human animals and sent them to Yan. Yan glanced at his confidant behind him. His confidant immediately raised his knife and reaped their lives. Boss, our men are back at the top of the Carnage chart again. Yan snorted. Don't let your guard down. Kill all the human sacrifices. Now, there's only a quarter of an hour left before the Carnage chart is refreshed. I won't allow Yankin to have a chance to turn the tables. Yes, don't worry, boss. Although the points of the human sacrifices we prepared are not high or low, they're not small trees in total. Yankin has always pretended to be righteous. He only kills wild beasts and villains, not innocent people. If he wants to catch up with us, he has to kill all the wild beasts in the Carnage chart. Yan took a deep breath, calming down the anger and panic in his heart. When he raised his head and saw Little Light's calm and focused gaze, his eyes instantly darkened, and the whip in his hand directly lashed out. Little bastard, what are you laughing at? Do you really think that bitch can save you? Stop dreaming. Before Yan could finish his words, a scream of horror came from behind him. BBB boss. Yan said angrily. Shut up. Can't you see that I'm teaching this little bastard a lesson? However, his subordinate didn't kneel down because of his scolding. Instead, his face turned pale and his eyes were filled with fear and desperation. The Carnage leaderboard. The Carnage leaderboard has changed again. Yap Liangchun is number 1 again. Damn it. Yan roared. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and kill all the human animals. No, impossible. It's too late. The subordinate who was in charge of receiving the missing Carnage leaderboard sounded like he was about to cry. Liangchun's current points are 2 times more than ours. Even if we kill everyone here, we won't be able to catch up to her. In front of Tianguang Ruins Carnage leaderboard, it was densely packed with people. This place should be extremely noisy, but now it was completely silent. Everyone raised their heads and stared at the name at the highest point, Yap Liangchun. Chapter 3449. No one had ever topped the slaughter list 6 times in a row, but she had done it. And it wasn't just 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 11 times, and finally the 12th time. I was among the first batch to enter the slaughter world of Tianguang ruins. Back then, did anyone else hear the same rumor as I did? When someone topped the slaughter list 12 times in a row, a new king would be born. And Tianguang ruins would return to the past, to the Tianguang ruins where there was no killing, no conflict, only equal trade and prosperity. Gulp, someone swallowed his saliva. Someone's chest heaved violently, and he could only hear his own rapid breathing and heartbeat. Some people looked at each other and saw the shock and hope in each other's eyes. Can you Liangshan rank 12 times in a row? Hey, aren't you members of the World #1 gang? Tell me, can you Liangshan do it? Can someone really rank 12 times in a row? Can someone really? Can he change the Tianguang ruins that was filled with death and despair? The members of the World #1 gang were shaken until they were dizzy. Finally, they couldn't take it anymore and roared. Can't you just read our gang's name out loud? The World #1 gang. That's right, Goddess Yi is #1. There's nothing she can't do. We just need to believe in her. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Ah, look, great God, Yi has been caught." Everyone looked up at the same time, and their hearts were in their throats. Ah, damn it. Where did this bastard Heartless Yama come from? Why is he fighting with Goddess Yi for first place at this time? I've been stuck in Tianguang ruins for 20 years. I've finally seen hope. Is it all for naught? Goddess Yi, I beg you, please kill the last person on the slaughter list. Slowly, some people put their palms together and bowed their heads in prayer. Some even knelt down. When they first entered Tianguang ruins, they were praying for a miracle every day. But slowly, they realized that a miracle couldn't happen. Therefore, they were in despair and no longer hoped for a God to pity them and save them. But at this moment, they once again yearned for a miracle, yearned for the blessings of God. Then, God really did hear their prayers. On the slaughter list, that dazzling name that was deeply engraved in everyone's mind flickered, from the second place to the high and mighty first place. The points behind Yu Liangshan increased at a rapid speed. In the blink of an eye, he had become twice as many points as the second place, Heartless Yama. There was less than a quarter of an hour left. Yap Liangshan was far ahead in terms of points. God Yi, I love you. I'm willing to follow you for life. Let's all count down and witness the moment when great God Yi is crowned as king. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1, boom. A loud sound came from under everyone's feet. The ground was shaking, and the sky was shaking. A dazzling white light shot up from the carnage list. When it rushed into the clouds, it exploded and turned into dazzling silver flames. The mechanical sound that had been heard thousands of times once again rang in everyone's ears in Tianguang ruins. Chapter 3450. But this time, there was an inexplicable human-like excitement in the mechanical voice. Ding dong. Tianguang Ruins World of Slaughter announces that the person at the top of the slaughter list in the 45th round of the Guiyu period is Yi Liangshan, with a total of 197,600 points. Guiyu 45, order has been issued. Now, Special Class User Yi Liangshan has collected all 12 massacre orders. Please head to Floating Light Island to receive your reward. Ding dong. Ending the 45th round of the Guiyu period in the Heavenly Light Ruins, the mission World of Massacre, the Strong Crown King, has been completed. New achievement unlocked. The second stage of Tianguang Ruins upgrade will take place after Yi Liangshan receives his reward. When the time comes, all users will be temporarily expelled from Tianguang Ruins. The upgrade will take a month in Tianguang Ruins time. Please understand. Ding dong. I repeat, the 45th round of the Guiyu period of Tianguang Ruins shall be born. Floating Light Island welcomes the arrival of the most powerful god, Yi Liangshan. The splendid fireworks would eventually disperse. The mechanical announcement of the Tianguang Ruins also slowly dissipated amidst the silence. However, the uproar caused by the announcement just now had only just begun. God, what did I just hear? All users will be temporarily expelled from Tianguang Ruins? Does this mean I can finally go back? Oh, how many years have I been here? 20 years or 30 years? I've already given up all hope. I can go home. I can finally go home. In the slaughtering world, the strong are crowned kings. From now on, in the entire Tianguang Ruins, in my heart, there will only be one king. That is Yap Liangshan, God Yap. From now on, As long as God Yi has any errands for me, I'll go through fire and water without hesitation. The strongest in the slaughtering universe, great God Yi. The savior of Tianguang ruins, great God Yi. Long live God Yi. The entire Tianguang ruins was immersed in a sea of joy. However, there was one place where the atmosphere was completely different. At this time, Yi Jingyan's expression was not only angry, shocked, but also panicked. At the moment when the slaughter list was updated, Light, who was nailed to the door and unable to break free, disappeared. The door of Floating Light Island, which had been shrouded in black gas and had started to loosen, was now glowing with golden light. It was tightly shut and could not be pushed at all. At this point, all their hard work over the past 20 years, real time, had been for naught. However, this was not the scariest part. Yi Jingyan only had to think of the wrath of the imperial teacher after leaving the Tianguang ruins. He was so scared that his hands and feet turned cold, and his entire body trembled. He would rather die here than be punished by the imperial tutor. Now, there was only one way. That was to kill Yi Liangshun and take the 12 Guei Yu tokens from her. That's right. As long as he obtained the Guei Yu token, it was equivalent to obtaining the key to Floating Light Island. At that time, he would definitely be able to enter this door. He definitely could. This was his last and only chance of survival. Just as he was thinking this, a figure appeared by the river beneath Floating Light Island. Yi Jingyan's pupils suddenly constricted as he gritted his teeth and spat out 3 words, Yi Liangshun. As soon as the last word fell, the figure by the river had already appeared in front of Yi Jingyan in a flash. Mu Yin sized up Yi Jingyan and the whip in his hand. The corners of her lips curled up slowly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Are you the one who has been controlling and bullying Light? Chapter 3451. Yi Jingyan ruthlessly flings the whip in his hand in the air, making a snapping sound. He coldly says, Yi Liangshun, hand over the Guei Yu token in your hand, and I might spare your lowly life. Mu Yin gently shakes her head, looking at him with a bit of pity. Do you think that because your cultivation is far higher than mine, you can casually snatch the Guei Yu token from my hand? Yi Jingyan sneers. Isn't that so? He's at the sea-splitting realm, and the girl in front of him is only at the profound life realm. If he wants to pinch Yi Liangshun to death, it'll be as easy as pinching an ant. Mu Yin already looks at him like she's looking at an idiot. Do you think that Tianguang ruins is the same as the outside world? Do you think that little Guang, who has broken free from control, and the brand new Tianguang ruins is still a place where you can behave atrociously? Is there something wrong with this person's brain? I say, little Guang, how on earth did you get controlled by such a stupid idiot? Mu Yin is a bit exasperated that iron doesn't meet her expectations. Behind her, the figure of a handsome youth slowly appears. It's little Guang. Little Guang's head is lowered at this time, his face expressionless, but his voice is weak. I don't know how I got controlled. When I woke up, this person whipped me. It hurts. Hearing the youth's low, aggrieved it hurts. Mu Yan's face suddenly sinks. Similarly, the controller of Tianguang ruins, Xiuzhen Continent's Little Tian, is high-spirited and carefree. But little Guang on the floating island has experienced so much pain. And all of this is caused by the man in front of her. Mu Yan's hand suddenly grabs the air. Yi Jingyan feels that his hand is empty, and the whip that was originally grasped in his palm has unexpectedly disappeared. And the girl opposite him has a black whip in her hand. She lightly swings it and says with a smile that isn't a smile, "You're not convinced that you're stupid. If you had a little brain, you should have directly withdrawn when Tianguang ruins just made the announcement, so that at least you could have a chance of survival. Now, if you want to escape, you'll have to ask our family's little Guang if he agrees." Mu Yin reaches out and passes the whip in her hand to little Guang beside her. Go. Take revenge if you have a grudge. Take revenge if you have a grudge. How he used the whip to torture you back then, you will return it to him 10 times, 100 times over. Blinking, Light reached out to take the whip, but subconsciously pulled it back. As a system, I can't violate the rules without the host's order, and I can't hurt the user. This is an iron law. System? What the hell was that? Mu Yin knits her brows, then immediately throws it to the back of her mind. Didn't you say that I was your first host? Do I have the right to grant you special authority during special periods? Little Light nodded. You can. In this world, only you can do it. But I'm just a system, not a human. I don't have human emotions. Pain and humiliation are just a form of mimicry. You don't have to do it for me. Mu Yin passes the whip to him and then ruffles the youth's hair. That's it. Now, I order you, if you have grievances, take revenge. You just need to do what you want to do. You don't need to worry about anything else. If anything happens, the first host will take care of it for you, okay? Mu Yin doesn't know what the system is. She only knows that the youth in front of her is so obedient and patient that it makes her heart ache. And she, Jun Mu Yin, has always been protective. As long as it's within her scope of protection, she would never allow anyone to bully it. Chapter 3452. Little Light's eyes lit up bit by bit. Holding the whip, he walked towards Yi Jingyan and his subordinates. Yi Jingyan's face was still full of disdain and anger. His subordinates, however, began to panic, wanting to leave Floating Light Island and Tianguang ruins. But very quickly, they were horrified to find that they had lost control of their bodies and were unable to move. Smack! The black whip covered in barbs lashed one of the black-clothed men, and that person immediately let out a miserable shriek. Then, his body began to disintegrate, turning into specks of dust that disappeared between heaven and earth. This time, even Mu Yin was startled. She had sensed something strange about the whip the moment she had held it. She hadn't expected it to be able to scatter a person's soul with just one strike. In Tianguang ruins, this was simply a divine weapon that no one could resist. It was no wonder that even Little Light had suffered greatly under this whip. And the first person to disappear also scared the souls of the remaining men in black away. They screamed in horror and wanted to escape, but there was no way out. They could only watch as the youth who had previously allowed them to bully as they pleased easily took away their lives with one whip after another. Spare me. Spare me. I beg you, I won't dare again. I'm willing to pledge allegiance to you. Finally, someone couldn't help but kneel and beg for mercy. Mu Yin said leisurely, Little Light, spare the lives of those who beg for mercy. Little Light nodded very obediently. Then, he bypassed the man begging for mercy and went to the next one. This weather vane for survival was simply too obvious. The remaining men in black all scrambled to kneel and beg for mercy, fearing that their lives would be taken away by the whip if they knelt too late. In the end, only Yi Jingyan was left standing, but his face no longer had the arrogance and anger from before. His face was frighteningly pale, and although he was barely standing, one could feel a slight tremble. A dark glint flashed across Little Light's clear, black, glass-like eyes. He was clearly emotionless, but at this moment, he suddenly remembered the pain of being whipped and insulted by this man. What infuriated him the most was that this man repeatedly insulted the first host, even cursing him to die. This was something he absolutely could not tolerate. Little Light suddenly raised his whip and ruthlessly lashed it at Yi Jingyan. The pain of his soul being torn apart caused Yi Jingyan to let out a shrill scream. In the past, when he used the whip to torture the young man with a smile, he never thought that when the whip hit his own soul, it would be such an unbearable torture. Yi Jingyan's subordinates were all killed with a single whip. However, Yi Jingyan's cultivation was high, so his soul was naturally much stronger. Therefore, Yi Jingyan was still alive even after Little Light whipped him several times. However, it was precisely because he was still alive that he had to endure hellish torture over and over again. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore and cried for mercy. Don't hit me anymore. Please don't hit me anymore. As long as you are willing to spare me, I am willing to do anything. Woo woo woo. Mu Yin steps forward and pats Xiao Guang's shoulder. The youth, who was tormenting people like an Azura from hell just a moment ago, immediately lowers his head and retreats behind Mayan. Who allowed you to control light? What is your purpose? Hearing Mayan's question, Yi Jingyan's body trembles, his face revealing a look of fear. His face is covered with snot and tears, and he says in a trembling voice, I can't say, I really can't say. I will die if I say it. Chapter 3453. Mu Yin frowned and turned to the other kneeling men in black. Answer my question, and I'll let you out of Tianguang ruins. What's your choice? The men in black all shrunk back. They seemed to want to speak, but bit their lips in terror. This time, Mu Yin was really surprised. Such painful torture, a choice between life and death. Yet these people didn't dare to speak. What kind of threat did the person behind this make them feel? Since you don't want to speak, then little Guang, kill them all. Little Guang immediately raised the whip in his hand. I'll speak, I'll speak. It's the Imperial Tutor. The Imperial Tutor told us to control Tianguang ruins and open the gates to Floating Light Island. One of the men in black couldn't bear the fear of death and screamed loudly. Imperial Tutor? Mayan stares blankly at first because of this unfamiliar form of address. Then, a distant and blurry memory suddenly flashed through her mind. It was the scene she saw in eldest senior brother Yun Ruhan's dream. More than a decade ago, the people who chased eldest senior brother and Shao Qi on Floating Island seemed to be acting on the Imperial Tutor's orders. Mu Yan's face slowly darkened. The Imperial Tutor you speak of is the Lan Empire's Imperial Tutor? What's his name? The man in black was stunned. He clearly didn't expect that she didn't even know the most famous Imperial Tutor on Floating Island. How could he have the guts to say that name? Even thinking about it inwardly terrified him. Yi Chengfeng. Yi Jingyan's hoarse voice came from the side. Yi Liangchen, where did you come from? Why don't you know the famous Lan Empire's Imperial Tutor, Yi Chengfeng? Yi Chengfeng. Mu Yin repeated the 3 words in her heart before sneering. I'm the one asking you now, not the other way around. Why does Yi Chengfeng want to open the gates to Floating Light Island? How does he control Tianguang ruins? How will we know the Imperial Tutor's methods? Yi Jingyan laughed bitterly. I only know that the Imperial Tutor wants to take something from Floating Light Island. This item is very important to the Imperial Tutor, and he's been planning it for decades. In order to erode Tianguang ruins' energy, he didn't hesitate to turn it into a world of slaughter, stacking countless lives. That's very clear. Even I didn't know that you had already heard so much, Yi Jingyan. A gentle male voice suddenly sounded, causing Yi Jingyan to widen his eyes in horror. Mu Yan's mind also went cold, abruptly taking a step back, protecting little light behind her. In front of Yi Jingyan, a figure in a light blue robe slowly appeared. It was a skinny young man who looked to be in his 20s. Her face was pale, but her lips were as red as blood. He had a pair of beautiful almond-shaped eyes. His pupils were a strange dark red color, and the corners of his eyes were slightly raised. When he smiled, an obscure light flowed in his eyes, giving people a feeling of weakness and terrifying contradiction. Mu Yin subconsciously took another step back, a trace of fear flashing through his eyes. This is the Lan Empire's state preceptor, Yi Chengfeng, the culprit behind the pursuit of eldest senior brother and little seven. At first glance, this person did not exude any powerful pressure or aura. But even in the Tianguang ruins, where she held a great advantage, Mayan also felt a fear that she had not felt for a long time. She hadn't even felt this kind of fear when she met Li Weiran at the gravel hill, because she knew that Li Weiran had never had any real killing intent toward her. And this person in front of her, he was clearly smiling, but it seemed like he wanted to destroy everything around him at any time. Chapter 3454. Yi Chengfeng slightly lowers his head and looks at Yi Jingyan on the ground. His long hair hangs down, making him look frail and frail. Yi Jingyan, do you have anything else to say? Yi Jingyan trembles and opens his mouth, his eyes full of fear, despair, and pleading. State preceptor, I don't dare. I don't dare anymore. Yi Chengfeng clenches his right hand into a fist and presses it against his lips. He coughs twice. It seems that you have nothing to say. He raises his slender pale hand, suspending it above Yi Jingyan's head. No, 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 no. State Preceptor, spare me. No, kill me. I beg you, let me die. Yi Jingyan's mournful howls slowly dissipate. His body, or rather, his soul, has turned into a palm-sized one, and is taken into Yi Qingfeng's palm. Mu Yan's pupils shrink. Xiao Guang, who is following behind her, suddenly grabs her hand. His body can't stop trembling. Yi Qingfeng has already turned his eyes to the remaining black-clothed men. These black-clothed men are all scared silly, their faces pale, tears streaming down their cheeks, and they can't even cry out for mercy. Just then, a black whip suddenly flashes. Pa 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 pa. After a few slaps, the men in black were directly smashed to pieces. However, this time, they don't wail or curse. Before they dissipate, they show a grateful smile to Mu Yan. Compared to falling into Yi Qingfeng's hands and suffering the torture of hell, they would rather have their souls fly away and scatter. Yi Qingfeng stares blankly and turns to look at Mu Yan. His slender fingers gently push aside the hair on his temples, and he politely bows towards her. There's an unconcealable admiration in his eyes. When I first created the world of bloodshed, I couldn't control part of Tianguang Ruin's will. For example, the task of World of Bloodshed, King of the Strong, is one of them. But at that time, I made a deduction that no one could complete this task, so I ignored it. I didn't expect that one day there would really be someone who could do what mortals can't. Missy, you really make me have a whole new level of respect for you. Mu Yan had already stabilized her state of mind at this time, and lightly smiled when she heard this. I also didn't expect that the dignified state preceptor of the Lan Empire would actually be like you. Yi Qingfeng raised his eyebrows. Looks like, Miss, you didn't belong to the floating island before. Did you ascend from the cultivation continent? Mu Yan didn't say anything, which could be considered as acquiescence. She didn't intend to hide it anyway. Yi Qingfeng brushed his forehead with his hand and revealed a helpless, bitter smile. The result of the divination tells me that there might be an unexpected guest who will disrupt my plan. So that's what it means. He raises his head to look at Mayan, his expression full of gentleness. The young lady's eyes are clear and firm. You should be a person with a pure mind. If possible, I don't want to be your enemy. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. You're a cruel and merciless villain, and you're telling me that you're a pure person? She said indifferently. Lord Imperial Preceptor, we are not familiar with each other, so there's no need for hypocritical courtesy. Just tell me your purpose. Yi Qingfeng turned to look at the youngster behind her. Mu Yan's complexion suddenly sank, and she said coldly, if the state preceptor still wants to hit on little Guang, then we might as well shed all pretense of cordiality right now. Yi Qingfeng laughed in spite of himself. Missy, why make a fuss about nothing? I'm just curious, is there really a spirit in the world that can take such a lifelike human form? In fact, I really do need you to do something for me. What is it? Chapter 3455. There are many treasures hidden on Floating Light Island, and one of them is called the Avicii Tower. It's the most eye-catching thing on the island, and you'll see it at first glance. As long as you give me the Avicii Tower, I promise I won't enter Tianguang Ruins again, nor will I investigate your identity. How about it? Avicii Tower? Mu Yan mused. She had never heard of this name, and didn't know what Yi Qingfeng wanted this treasure for. But the man in front of her was very dangerous. He could control Little Light 20 years ago, and could enter Tianguang Ruins at will now. If he wanted to attack her and Little Light, would she be able to stop him? If she could use a treasure to exchange for a temporary peace, it might be an expedient measure. Mu Yan was about to agree when Qi Huang's anxious voice sounded. Idiot, you can't give it. Don't you know what the Avicii Tower is? Hearing Qi Huang's voice, Mu Yan was taken aback, and then rejoiced in her heart. Qi Huang, I can even talk to you in Tianguang Ruins? Qi Huang snorted. You're half the owner of Tianguang Ruins now, so it's not strange that you can talk to me. When you enter Floating Light Island and obtain the true ownership of Tianguang Ruins, You can change this place however you want. Back to the main topic. I can't give the Avicii Tower to this pretty boy. Why was it that any man who looked slightly better was a pretty boy in Chi Huang's eyes? Muyin asked, "What kind of treasure is the Avicii Tower?" Chi Huang paused, and then said with some hesitation, "The Avicii Tower is also a demonic artifact, but I don't remember exactly what it is. But I know that the Avicii Tower was destroyed by the Master. If he gets this magic treasure, he can destroy all of Tianguang ruins in an instant." Muyin inhaled sharply, feeling a lingering fear. Fortunately, she didn't give the Avicii Tower away, or little light would. Moreover, the Avicii Tower's effects are far from as simple as you think. I remember that when it was at its peak, it could even directly destroy a world. Yi Chengfeng smiled. "Miss Yi, have you thought it through?" Muyin takes a deep breath. "I refuse." The smile on Yi Chengfeng's face slowly disappeared. His dark red eyes also lost their warmth at this moment. "Miss Yi, are you sure?" Muyin didn't say anything, but pushed little light a little further away. The 7 subordinate swords appeared behind her, emitting a dazzling light. The 7-terminal mother sword in his palm was sparkling and translucent, but it exuded a bone-chilling, killing intent. Yi Chengfeng covered half of his face with one hand and laughed in a low voice. The dark red eyes that were exposed emitted a bloodthirsty and treacherous light. "Why are you forcing me to make a move? I really don't want to increase the number of killings. But no one can stop my plan. The Avicii Pagoda must be in my hands. If a god stand in my way, I'll kill him. If the Buddha blocks, I will kill the Buddha. If any living being dares to stop me, then I will slaughter every living being on this land." Muyan's pupils suddenly contract. At this moment, she felt suffocated and powerless as her heart and throat were being strangled at the same time. Damn it! How high was Yi Chengfeng's cultivation? It seemed to have surpassed that of a golden immortal. Moreover, compared to his cultivation, the density of his divine soul seemed to be several times heavier than that of ordinary people. There was an innate pressure in his body that caused the energy of all of Tianguang ruins to fluctuate and become unstable. Chapter 3456. First host, run! Xiao Guang cried out in fright, pushing Mu Yin to the side, and went to meet him. At this time, Yi Chengfeng also raised his hand like a knife, chopping towards Mu Yin. Clang! The 7 child swords circled in front of Xiao Guang to block. However, Mu Yin felt a bone-chilling coldness coming from her natal sword, making her stiff and unable to move. Her pupils shrank, and she thought to herself, "Not good." The next moment, an ice-cold hand was already gripping her throat. Yi Chengfeng chuckled. "You've worked hard to come from the Xiojin continent to the floating island, but farewell forever. No, you're not allowed to hurt the first host." Xiao Guang screamed and threw himself over. The entire Tianguang ruins seemed to feel his anger and impatience. Energy surged, and the earth trembled. Air blades cut through Yi Chengfeng's clothes and skin. But Yi Chengfeng didn't seem to feel it at all, and exerted force in his hand. However, at this time, his expression froze. His figure suddenly retreated several meters away. The expression on his face was surprise, doubt, and fear. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yin coughed violently, her body went limp, and she almost fell to the ground. It was only at this moment that she felt her frozen blood begin to flow again. However, she didn't fall to the ground, but was supported by a hand. This hand was on her back, supporting her body, and at the same time, it injected a trace of soul power into her body. Mu Yin's almost frozen soul body recovered in a flash. The hand that was pressing on her back also quickly retracted. Mu Yin turned to look and saw a man in white standing less than 10 feet behind her. This man wore a mask, and a faint white mist lingered around his body. She could only roughly see his height, and couldn't even see his silhouette clearly. However, even so, Mu Yin still recognized him at a glance. Yi Chengfeng's voice came to her ears. "Who are you, Your Excellency?" The masked man slowly stepped forward, his hands forming a complicated seal, and said in a low voice, "Xiao Guang, banish user. Yi Chengfeng, permanently deprive him of the right to log into Tianguang ruins. Xiao Guang looked at him in a daze, his black glass-like eyes flickering. Finally, it turned into a kind of shock and understanding. He bent one knee and slowly knelt down. He bowed and said, "Yes, master." Yi Chengfeng's eyes darkened, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he took a deep look at the two of them and smiled. "If it's just the rules of Tianguang ruins, I'm afraid it won't be able to stop me. Yap Liang Chun, as long as the item is in your hands, I will definitely get it back. We'll meet again someday." After saying that, his figure disappeared on the spot. Mayan lets out a long sigh before looking at the masked man beside her. His expression was somewhat complicated. She recognized the man in front of her at first glance, even though she couldn't see his face and figure clearly. That was indeed the lord of the Tianguang ruins that she had met in the core area of the Tianguang ruins, the dreamy cloud swampland. Most importantly, this man was very likely to be the fiancé that her cheap father had arranged for her. After struggling for a long time, Mayan gratefully says, "Thank you, Your Excellency, for saving my life." "You're welcome." The man's voice sounded a little distant. "It's nothing," Mayan probed. "That day in the dreamy cloud swampland, it was thanks to Your Excellency's floating light jade key that saved my life in the nick of time. I don't know if you're willing to tell me your name. If there's a chance, I will definitely repay you." Chapter 3457. Under the mask, Luo Yunxiao stares blankly, her hands unconsciously clenching and unclenching in her sleeves. It turns out that the floating light jade key had saved Mayan's life. That's great. Her mind is in turmoil, but she doesn't show it on her face. Luo Yunxiao says indifferently, "You completed the killing mission and prevented this Tianguang ruins from collapsing. Our debt of gratitude can be considered equal. No need to take it to heart." Mayan is depressed. This person clearly doesn't want to reveal his identity. Then how can she inquire? Thinking about it, this person is the master of 2 Tianguang ruins, an existence that many people covet and curry favor with. If her identity is exposed, she doesn't know what kind of trouble it will provoke. But is the other half of the heart seal on this Tianguang ruins master? If it isn't, why did the heart seal react when she met him twice? If it is, why is there no reaction from the heart seal now that they are face to face, so close to each other? Qi Huang, can you see this person's identity and origin? Does he have the heart seal of our engagement? There was complete silence. Qi Huang, why are you asking me? How would Laozi know about the pretty boy? Qi Huang's exasperated voice suddenly comes to her ears. "Son of a bitch, shameless. Why do you care about this kind of trash? Just chop him up, throw him out to feed the dogs." Mayan is startled. "Qi Huang, what's wrong with you? How did this person provoke you to have such a fiery temper? My life was saved by him just now. Let me chop him up and feed him to the dogs." Qi Huang angrily says, "Laozi doesn't care. Laozi just doesn't like him. Laozi wants to scold him. So why do you care?" Even the way he addresses himself as Laozi shows how fierce his anger is. But the problem is that although Qi Huang has always been angry at the heavens, apart from little martial uncle, she really hasn't seen him so agitated in front of anyone. "Mayan, Qi Huang, do you know who he is?" His ears fell into silence again. After a while, Qi Huang coldly snorts. "Laozi doesn't know. Laozi has no interest in the pretty boy. Idiot woman, I'm going to sleep. Don't bother me if there's nothing." Then, he really cuts off contact with her. Muyan is simply baffled. What the hell was wrong with Qi Xiaohuang? And who are you calling an idiot woman? Truly a brat who hasn't been disciplined for 3 days will tear the roof tiles. "You want to enter Floating Light Island?" A distant voice interrupts Mayan's thoughts. She abruptly came back to her senses. She looked at Little Light and then at the masked man. After hesitating for a moment, she took out the 12 Gui tokens and handed them to him. "I massacred the slaughter roll because I wanted to save Little Light and restore Tianguang ruins to normal. Now that his wish had been fulfilled, it was time to return it to its rightful owner." Floating Light Island was a forbidden area of the Tianguang ruins. Only the master of the Tianguang ruins had the right to enter. I won't be going in. Light cried out anxiously. First host. Mayan pats him on the shoulder, motioning for the youth to calm down. Tianguang ruins did not belong to her. Moreover, this person had just saved his life. Where did she get the face to occupy the nest of a magpie? As for Little Light, regardless of whether she was the owner of Tianguang ruins or not, it did not affect her relationship with the two artifact spirits. Luo Yunxiao stares blankly at the 12 Guiyu tokens that the girl has handed over. There's a helpless and doting smile on her face. In this world, how many people covet the Tianguang ruins? Even in their dreams, they want to take this treasure for themselves. But this person in front of her, it's clearly within her reach, but she wants to return it to her without hesitation. Chapter 3458. Zhu Mayan, how stupid are you? But if you weren't so stupid, how could you unknowingly sink deeper and deeper? Luo Yinxiao moved her lips, about to speak. But she saw the girl's expression change several times. From shock at first, to anger, to embarrassment. When she finally looked at him, she simply couldn't lift her head. Luo Yinxiao found it a little funny. It was rare for Mayan to show such an expression. What the hell was going on? The next moment, she heard the girl say lifelessly, cough. Although Tianguang ruins is yours, I saved Little Guang this time. Even if I don't have any merit, I still put in a lot of effort. Can you let me pick a few treasures from Floating Light Island? When she said this, Mayan's face was so red that it almost burned. Seriously, he had just sworn that Tianguang ruins and Floating Light Island belonged to someone else, and that he was not going to take a single step in to prove his innocence. In the end, she was slapped in the face. The reason was that Qi Huang, who had just said he was going to sleep and didn't want to talk to her, suddenly started cursing when she handed over the Guiyu token. Idiot, are you stupid? You don't want Tianguang ruins, and you don't want the treasures on Floating Light Island? Mayan was stunned. A Vichy tower? Didn't you say that thing was dangerous and couldn't be touched? Qi Huang chuckled coldly and directly dropped a heavy bomb. You don't want the materials to repair the Tianmo Qin strings? Mayan was directly blown away by this news. Qi Xiao Huang, why didn't you say earlier that you had the materials to repair the Tianmo Qin? Who knew that Qi Huang was even angrier than her? How would I know that you would give up the entire Tianguang ruins? You idiot! Didn't you just see this pretty boy's handsomeness, so you were head over heels for him that you even lost your brain? Mayan, what the fuck do you mean by being smitten? She didn't even know what the man looked like, whether he was fat or thin. How could she be head over heels for him? Mayan took a deep breath and silently said 3 times in her heart, I won't bother with this brat. Then, although it was very embarrassing, she could only thicken her face and speak. After saying it, the other side was silent. Just when Mayan couldn't bear it anymore, she heard a low laugh. Mayan stares blankly, raising her head in astonishment to look at the man in front of her. She didn't know why, but she felt that this man didn't like to smile, even though she didn't know him. When he smiled, his entire face was still distant and blurry, but those faintly discernible eyes gave her an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Luo Yinxiao didn't take the Guiyu token from her. Instead, she walked towards the gate of Floating Light Island and said indifferently, the rules and will of Tianguang ruins will not be moved by our modesty. From a moment you unlocked the Bloodshed World mission, the Island Sky Light ruins belong to you. You are its only master. Little Light raised his head in surprise, glancing at Luo Yinxiao. Soon after, the corners of his mouth could not help but secretly curl up, revealing a grateful and happy smile. The reason for that was because he knew that what Luo Yunxiao said was incorrect. Everything in the Tianguang ruins was indeed based on the established rules. Therefore, no matter how much he likes Mu Yin, he can only obey the orders of his true master. Mu Yin completed the World of Bloodshed mission and became a supreme user of Tianguang ruins. He enjoyed the same authority as the owner of the Tianguang ruins. But in the end, she wasn't the owner of Tianguang ruins. As long as Luo Yunxiao, the current ruler, still existed, his authority would always be higher than Mu Yan's. Beautiful Enchantress of medicine, Heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please bookmark. Beautiful enchantress of medicine. Heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please bookmark me. Chapter 3459. Even if Luo Yunxiao ordered Little Light to kill Mu Yin, it couldn't disobey. Of course, it would suffer the backlash of Tianguang ruins if it abused its power. But if Luo Yunxiao gave Mu Yin the right to rule Tianguang ruins, it would be different. Mu Yin would become the rightful inheritor and Little Light's true master. Just like the name Floating Light, the two doors in front of her had already lost their previous simplicity and heaviness. The whole door was twinkling with fine starlight. From afar, it was too beautiful to behold. When Mu Yin threw out the Gui U12 tokens, the starlight was like it had met a long-lost relative. It happily went over and wrapped around the Gui U tokens. Soon, the Gui U12 tokens disappeared in the starlight. The door made a creaking sound and gradually opened inward. Oh! Seeing the scene inside, Mu Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Chingfeng said that as long as she entered Floating Light Island, she would know which treasure was the Avicii Tower. Now she believed it, because when the door of Floating Light Island opened, there was a tower as white as jade at the entrance. Under the starlight on the door, the tower shone with a lustrous luster, so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes off it. However, the moment she saw the tower, Mu Yin didn't feel any holiness or beauty. Instead, the miserable howls from hell flashed through her mind like whistling past. Countless mountains of corpses, seas of blood, and piles of white bones seemed to pass before her eyes. The resentment and monstrous hatred contained within were almost unbearable. Just then, a fluorescent light enveloped her whole body, instantly isolating the evil aura of the Avicii Tower. Mu Yin breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you. She had a headache for a while. She seemed to owe more and more favors to the Lord of Tianguang ruins. It would be fine if he was just an ordinary person, but if he really was her cheap fiancé. Thinking of that jealous Jun Shangdarin, Mu Yin pressed her forehead with a headache and retreated a few steps to the side. She didn't know if Di Mingju would sense it when the heart mark lit up this time. If he sensed it, cough, maybe Jun Shangdarin had already killed his way here. Mu Yan's imagination was running wild, wondering if she should try to get information from this person and find Jun Shiyuan to cancel her engagement. A faint and distant voice came into his ears. The thing you're looking for should be in the Avicii Pagoda. The murderous aura of the Avicii Pagoda is too strong. Stand further away. I will take out the things inside. Hearing this, Mayan retreated a few steps and used divine hand, weaving heaven, to arrange a sound wall around herself. Seeing this, Luo Yunxiao activated her divine sense and spiritual power. Soon, Avicenna shone brightly, but at the same time, a bone-chilling coldness permeated the entire Floating Light Island. Even though Mu Yin has used a sound wall to block it, she can still feel the bone-piercing chill. Luo Yunxiao glanced at her and increased the speed of her spiritual power. The Avicii Pagoda buzzed. One treasure after another flew out of the tower. About a quarter of an hour later, Mu Yin stared dumbfoundedly at the pile of treasures in front of her. She was so shocked that she couldn't say a word. Why were there so many treasures in the Avicii Pagoda? Furthermore, none of them were ordinary treasures. They were treasures that had never been seen on the cultivation continent or the floating island. Mu Yin happily picks up a pair of hammers. From the outside, this pair of hammers looks unremarkable, but they are actually two heavenly tools called 10,000-ton hammers. As the name suggests, it has the power to lift 10,000 tons. It's practically tailor-made for Second Brother with a power field. Chapter 3460. There was also the Cloud Silk Cloth, which was also a deity artifact. It could turn into threads, steel needles, and could even be used as a flying artifact. Its flying speed could be gradually increased according to the user's own strength. If it was given to fifth senior brother Ling Yuxing, he would definitely be able to display his strength better. In the Xiaoyao sect, senior brother Yun Ruhan and fourth senior sister Lung Yuma already had the deity artifact Ice Soul Sword and the self-growing Red Lotus soul-stealing blade respectively. Xiaoqi was good at using puppets and summoning divine beasts. He didn't need the help of artifacts. As for third senior brother Chu Moli, his cultivation was unique, different from everyone else's. The silver bow and black sword he used, as well as that strange painting, Mu Yin still couldn't figure out what it was until now. The only ones who didn't have a suitable weapon were second senior brother Qin Jiu and fifth senior brother Ling Yuxing. If she brought these two treasures back, they would definitely be very happy. However, these treasures might have been collected by this masked man on Floating Light Island. Wouldn't it be bad for her to just take them away? Just as this thought flashed through Mu Yan's mind, she heard Luo Yunxiao say, "I didn't collect these things, and they are of no use to me. You can take them all if you like." Really? Seeing the man nodding without hesitation, as if he didn't care about these treasures at all, Mu Yin was overjoyed. She delightedly picked through the pile of treasures. Apart from second senior brother and fifth senior brother's 10,000-ton hammer and cloud silk cloth, she didn't pick any other weapons. Instead, she picked some auxiliary defensive artifacts and various alchemy and refining materials. In the blink of an eye, the large space of the floating light jade key was filled to the brim. But the problem was that she couldn't find the materials she really wanted to repair the Tian Mo Qin. "Qi Huang," Mu Yin could only call out to the naughty brat. "Are you sure there really are materials to repair the Tian Mo Qin on Floating Light Island?" Qi Huang's gritted teeth came to her ears. "You trust the pretty boy's words so much, but you're doubting me?" The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. "Qi Xiaowang, this is your first time meeting him, right? How did he provoke you?" "Idiot woman, what do you know? This bastard is clearly..." But halfway through his words, the device spirit swallowed it back and changed the topic. "Here, the aura of the stupid demon god artifact of Vichy Pagoda is too heavy. I can't sense it for a while, but I can guarantee that there are definitely materials to repair the Tian Mo Qin here." As he spoke, his tone became dangerous. "Don't you believe in my senses? Trust, trust, trust." Mu Yin hurriedly pacifies this little ancestor who has repeatedly exploded in anger. "I don't believe anyone, but I can't not believe you." "Oomph, that's more like it." In any case, he is the dignified Lord Qi Huang. In Junmai's heart, his position must be 100 times higher than that of a pretty boy, no? 1,000 times. 10,000 times. Luo Yunxiao sees that Mu Yin has given up on rummaging through the pile of treasures, and is instead circling around the Avicii Pagoda to observe and sense it from afar. He couldn't help but ask, "You didn't find what you wanted?" Maya nods. She also has a hunch that the restoration materials for the Tian Mo Qin should still be in the Avicii Pagoda. However, the masked man clearly said that he had taken out all the treasures from the Avicii Tower. If he wanted to deceive her, he only needed to not help her take them out. There was no need to beat around the bush. It's not that Luo Yunxiao deliberately left it out. That is to say, the restoration materials for the Tian Mo Qin are still in the Avicii Tower. It's just that they haven't been taken out for some reason. Charming Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Chapter 3461. 1 second remember, love net, to provide you with exciting reading. Mayan takes a deep breath, then she suddenly takes out the Tian Mo Qin and sits on the ground. His fingers gently pressed on the strings, moving them up and down. The sound of the zither changed from intermittent and indistinct to smooth and lingering, and then became impassioned and leaping. As the sound of the zither grew louder and louder, the Avicii Pagoda began to buzz. The white light shone brightly. Mu Yan's forehead is beaded with sweat. At this time, her divine awareness was penetrating the Avicii Pagoda along with the sound of the zither, searching inch by inch. At the same time, she had a guard against the erosion of the evil qi. Luo Yunxiao looked at her worriedly. She wanted to step forward, but she restrained herself. However, she couldn't help but clench her fists. Suddenly, Mayan snaps open her eyes, starlight flickering in her pupils. Found it. At the top of the Avicii Tower. She can feel that there's a familiar and powerful aura there, so there's no doubt that it's the Tian Mo Chin's restoration materials. He had found it, but how to take it out was a problem. Her spiritual power could not get close to the Avicii Tower at all. Even with her divine awareness, she had to carefully avoid the evil chi and barely succeeded. Muyin shifts her gaze to the side. Little light. The things on Floating Light Island belong to Master. Little light cannot touch them. Luo Yinxiao also shook her head. I just tried. I can't sense what you're talking about. Muyin frowns. It was already right in front of him, but he couldn't take it. She suddenly gritted her teeth and said, I'll go into the Avicii Tower and take it out. First host, you can't. Don't mess around. Muyin stares blankly and turns to look at the man in astonishment. The way he spoke to her just now, why did it seem like he was very familiar with her? Luo Yinxiao's heart skipped a beat. She managed to maintain a calm voice and said lightly, the evil spirit in the Avicii Pagoda is thousands of times stronger than outside. When you enter it, your mind will be drowned by the killing intent and resentment before you can find anything. Acting rashly is no different from courting death. Muyin put aside the strange thoughts in her mind and said with a frown, but this thing is really important to me. I'll go with you. Mayan is startled. What? I'll go in with you. The baleful aura doesn't harm me at all. I can protect you until you get what you want. Thank you for keeping Tianguang ruins from collapsing. Muyin opened her mouth and almost blurted out, why are you so good to me? Moreover, was this person her cheap fiancé? However, such good intentions were a great danger to this man. Muyin could not accept it with a clear conscience. But before she could say anything, she heard Qi Huang say in disdain, what harm can this trash, baleful energy do to him? If I don't make use of this gigolo that delivered himself to my doorstep, would I be stupid? Or is it just a small favor that made you fall in love with someone else? The blue veins on Muyin's forehead suddenly throbbed. Qi Xiaowang, your skin is itching again, isn't it? This person has nothing to do with you or me. Why are you always targeting him? Furthermore, how do you know that he isn't afraid of being corroded by the baleful aura? Do you really know who he is? However, Qi Huang ignored her and refused to answer her question. Muyin hesitates, and the man beside her doesn't urge her. It seemed that no matter what decision she made, it had nothing to do with him. This kind of distant and indifferent attitude made Muyin's heart feel a lot more at ease. She pondered for a while and finally bowed deeply to the man. Then I'll have to trouble you, Your Excellency. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 3462. The Tower of Avicii is pure white, sparkling like jade, looking gorgeous and beautiful. However, seeing the scene in the tower, Mayan only feels her blood run cold. There are no carved beams or painted rafters, no simple steps, no luxurious and elegant decorations. There's only a milky white cold pool that exudes a bone-chilling coldness. But even though it's so cold, there are bubbles emerging from the center of the cold pool from time to time. The bubbles burst in the air, revealing a hideous face. Her ears are filled with the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. There are also specks of white light floating in the void, like fireflies hovering around her, beautiful and dreamy. However, that's the resentment and baleful aura left behind after a creature's soul flies away. Don't touch it. Hearing the masked man's reminder, Mayan's mind shudders, and she quickly avoids the floating specks of white light. She looks up at the top of the tower. The tower doesn't look high from the outside, but standing inside, it seems that she can't see the end at all. Moreover, it's completely empty. It's reasonable to say that there's no place to put treasures. But Mayan believes in her senses, and even more in Qi Huang's intuition. The seven absolutes sword appears in her palm, suspended in the air, and Mayan leaps onto it. The sword immediately turns into a stream of light and rushes straight to the top of the tower. Luo Yinxiao doesn't say anything, just silently follows behind her and flies up to the sky. Have we reached the top? Mayan stands on the seven absolute sword, frowning as she looks around. This is a very ordinary top of the tower, nothing at all. Even fireflies floating below have disappeared here. But the surrounding air is even colder, so cold that it's bone-chilling. When Mayan opens her mouth to speak, her voice trembles. But the next moment, a fluorescent light envelopes her, bringing warmth and dispersing most of the cold air. Mayan gratefully looks at the man beside her, but he suddenly covers his mouth with his hand and coughs a few times. Even his body seems to be swaying slightly because of weakness. The fog that pervades the man's body dissipates for a moment, revealing a thin body, gently shivering in the bone-chilling cold. Mayan is startled. Just now, she had an inexplicable sense of familiarity with this strange man. However, before she could think about where this sense of familiarity came from, the fog once again shrouds the man's body, covering him tightly. Cough, cough. Luo Yinxiao coughed softly. His palm was stained with a bit of wet and sticky scarlet, but he didn't seem to notice it at all, calmly covering it up. In fact, the torture he had suffered in the water prison of the Netherworld region had almost cost him half his life. It was not something that could be healed in a short period of time. But since she was young, Luo Yinxiao had long since become accustomed to this little bit of pain and didn't take it to heart at all. He was only worried that his body, which was riddled with holes, would not be able to protect Mu Yin in the Avicii pagoda that was filled with evil aura. Hey, are you okay? Mu Yin looked at him worriedly. Didn't Qi Huang say that this person wasn't afraid of baleful aura? This naughty brat couldn't possibly be looking for her, right? Luo Yinxiao shook her head. It's nothing. However, you can't stay here for long. Otherwise, my barrier won't be able to stop the baleful aura from corroding your soul. Cough, cough. The worry and guilt in Mayan's heart is even more intense. She felt that she had implicated this person. She had owed him favors time and time again, and now she had even caused him to be corroded by the baleful aura. This baleful aura was bone-piercing and cold to the soul. Who would really not be afraid of it? Charming Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Charming Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Chapter 3463. It was all Qi Huang's fault for misleading him. Bone-piercing cold? Mu Yin's train of thought suddenly stops. If it was cold, wouldn't it be better to warm it up by a fire? Normal fire would not work. But what about the world's fiercest and strongest golden crow fire essence? Thinking of this, Mayan's divine sense slightly moves to summon the golden crow into space. Originally, pets needed a special jade key or the drifting soul seal to enter the Tianguang ruins. But now that Tianguang ruins had changed, Mu Yin had half of the authority to rule it. Thus, he easily pulled the flame essence in. However, as soon as the one-eyed flame spirit appeared, it was frightened out of its wits by the dense resentment and infernal energy of the Avicii pagoda. It shrank its head and drilled back into space. No matter how Mayan summoned it, it refused to come out. Within the Tian Mo Qin space, Xiao Bao leads a group of little fellows, condescendingly looking down at the flame essence that refuses to contribute no matter what. A sinister sneer appeared on his face. You really won't help Nyang Qin? The flame essence revealed an aggrieved expression, its round head shaking like a rattle. In the next moment, he was ganged up on by the little fellows. Woo 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 woo. Little Bao crossed his arms across his chest. He looked at the pitiful weeping flame essence and coldly said, Since you can't help Mother, that means you have no value in existing. Bun, just swallow it. Swallow it, and you'll level up. The fat rabbit's beady eyes sparkled. Then it opened its mouth and directly swallowed the flame essence. Roar, 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 roar. Strange screams could be heard. The fat rabbit's body was struggling violently, causing its furry body to bulge. It was a horrifying sight. However, the fat rabbit didn't seem to feel anything. It was still moving its mouth as if it was chewing with great interest. The screams inside were getting weaker and weaker. Xiao Bao said, Bunny, let it out. The fat rabbit spat, "Pooey." It tasted terrible. The beautiful fireball that had been full of energy and glittering a moment ago was now crouching on the ground, covered in what looked like saliva. It curled up into a ball and cried, "Xiao Bao, are you willing to listen to Mother's orders?" The golden crow nodded frantically. Oh, it didn't want to be eaten anymore. What kind of monster was that fat rabbit? It could even swallow a golden crow fire essence. Moreover, it really felt like it was about to be digested when it was in the fat rabbit's stomach. It was too terrifying. It was too scary. As long as it doesn't get eaten, it's willing to do anything. The golden crow sneaked a peek. The fat rabbit that had just savagely swallowed it was now arching its furry body and rubbing itself against its little master's arms. She looked as silly and cute as she could be, and as harmless as she could be. He felt the golden crow's gaze. The fat rabbit suddenly turned around, its cold green bean eyes looking over with a cold glint. Whoosh! The golden crow was so frightened that it shrank its head and hid its only eye. Then he obediently used the flames to dry the sticky saliva on his body and jumped out of the space to help Mu Yen. When he turned around, he was still gnashing his teeth in hatred. To think that it was a golden crow fire essence. It was an existence that people feared and respected everywhere. But now that he's been forced to sign a master-servant contract with someone, he can't even release 1/10 of the power of the golden crow fire in this Tian Emochin space. Otherwise, why would he be bullied by that fat rabbit? One day, he would definitely make this damned rabbit look good. As he cursed in his heart, the golden crow turned around and secretly spat out a piece of vermilion jade. The Enchantress of Medicine, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. The Enchantress of Medicine, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad is the most popular. Chapter 3464. This piece of vermilion jade is dull in color and has an ordinary shape. There are tassels hanging down from the bottom, but because it hasn't been taken care of for a long time, the tassels have lost their luster and become gray. However, this unremarkable piece of vermilion jade is carefully placed inside the fat rabbit's body, using energy to protect it, preventing other food or treasures from touching it. It was as if this thing was the most precious treasure to the fat rabbit. He. Stealing this treasure, won't the damn rabbit be worried to death when he finds out? The golden crow secretly gloats in his heart while hiding the vermilion jade inside its body. As soon as the golden crow's fire essence appears, the cold around it immediately dispels a lot. Mu Yen breathes a sigh of relief. Seeing the golden crow's unwilling and aggrieved appearance, she can't help but smile. The Tianamo Chin appears in her hand, the strings plucked. With the pleasant sound of the chin, the Shun musician's skill, a single spark makes a prairie fire, is activated. Pure energy flows into the golden crow's fire essence, causing its single eye to suddenly widen. Good. So comfortable. It's like there's a hand reaching into its body, helping it sort out the chaotic and motley fire spirit. Then he injected fragrant and warm energy into it. Its single eye narrows in enjoyment, its round head swaying as it dances with the notes of the chin. But it doesn't feel comfortable for long before the music stops. The golden crow suddenly opens its eyes, anxiously staring at Mu Yen, letting out cries. Mu Yen reaches out and scratches the chin of its round head, slowly giving it a stick and a carrot. Work hard. I'll let you eat your fill when we get back. How about it? The golden crow tilts its big head, its single eye flashing, then it flies up into the air. The small ball of fire suddenly turns into a big fireball, instantly lighting up a large area at the top of the Tower of Avicii and dispersing the cold air in the surroundings for a moment. Even Luo Yunxiao can't help but show a surprised expression. Is that the golden crow fire? When did Mu Yen obtain the world's most masculine golden crow fire? Then he can't help but reveal a faint smile on his face, warm and gratified. It seems that Mu Yen and the people of the Xiao Yao sect had a good time while he was away. It's really too good. Even the powerful golden crow fire can only dispel the cold air at the top of the Tower of Avicii for a moment. However, this moment was enough. Mu Yin snaps her eyes open. It's here. The seven absolute sword in his hand turned into a stream of light and flew out, fiercely slashing somewhere in the void. Luo Yunxiao was stunned. That was because there was nothing there. Even if he used his divine sense to explore just now, he couldn't sense anything. However, when the seven absolutes' sword slashed down from the sky, there was a loud bang. Something fell from the void. Muyin doesn't even have time to look at it carefully. She reaches out and grabs it. Then he felt the entire Avicii Tower shake violently. Countless murderous auras turned into raging waves that swept towards her. Aya! The golden crow lets out a shriek and whooshes back into the Tian Emochin space. As the host of the Tian Emochin, Mu Yin simply has no way to escape. Just at the moment of imminent peril, Mu Yin felt a familiar energy wrap around and envelop her. Immediately after, his wrist was grabbed by someone, and his entire body felt lightheaded as he was thrown out. Bang! Mayan falls onto the lawn. She feels as if her internal organs have shifted, and there's a buzzing sound in her head. First host, Xiao Guang nervously rushes over to help her up. Enchantress of the Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. Enchantress of the Enchantress of the Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, the most popular bar. Chapter 3465. Mayan looked around, and her face changed greatly. Little light, where's your master? Hasn't he come out of the Avicii Tower yet? He had just thrown her out of the Avicii Tower, but she was trapped inside and swallowed by the infernal energy. Are you kidding me? Before Little Light could speak, she heard a loud bang coming from the top of the Avicii Tower. Then a tall figure appeared at the top of the tower. Strong infernal energy and resentment lingered around him, as if to swallow him up. But the next moment, a black and red flame sprang out of the man's body. The flame turned into tentacles, flying around. As soon as it touched the infernal energy and resentment, it was completely swallowed. Mayan looked at the scene dumbfounded. She never thought that there would be someone in this world who could swallow infernal energy, resentment, and the aura of dead spirits. This kind of energy that gathered all the gloominess, darkness, resentment, and ugliness between heaven and earth. Even the demon race would avoid it. How could there be someone who could swallow them? Wasn't he afraid that his soul would be eroded and eventually lose his self-awareness, turning into a monster that was neither human nor ghost? Until Luo Yunxiao landed in front of Mayan, she still hadn't recovered. Seeing the shock in the girl's widened eyes, Luo Yunxiao subconsciously took 2 steps back, and a bitter smile appeared on his face under the mask. Who wouldn't be afraid of a monster like him? Who wouldn't be disgusted? Wasn't he already used to it? Mayan came back to her senses, but quickly threw the shock to the back of her mind. A person who could swallow infernal energy was a monster, but was she a normal person? Not to mention that there was an even more abnormal tool spirit in the space. Your Excellency just saved my life again. Mayan withdrew all her requests and bowed deeply to Luo Yunxiao. Could you please tell me your name? If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay your great kindness. Luo Yunxiao looked at her for a moment, then said indifferently, no need. I said that bringing you into the Avicii Tower was your reward for saving Tingguang ruins. You don't owe me anything. After a pause, his voice became low and desolate. From now on, you and I will never see each other again. Since they were destined to forget, destined to be strangers, why leave their names? Mu Yin can hear the hidden meaning in the man's words, and she can't help but feel ashamed. She had just suspected that this person was her cheap fiancé and that he had appeared in Tingguang ruins to help her. Now, it seemed that he had been overthinking things. Perhaps the other half of the heart seal wasn't on her at all. Or perhaps, even if there was an engagement, it wasn't voluntary. Suppressing the relief and gratitude in her heart, Mu Yin took out the things she got from the Avicii Pagoda. That was an egg? What the hell? What she wanted was the materials to repair the Tian Mo Qin. How could she obtain an egg after going through so much hardship? So it's the yin-yang egg. No wonder even my divine sense couldn't detect it. Mu Yin looks at Luo Yunxiao. What is an yin and yang egg? That's a special kind of storage magic treasure that's hard to find in the world. Anything placed in the yin-yang egg, no matter what attribute it is, no matter how strong its energy aura is, it could be completely concealed. Even an immortal emperor would not be able to detect it. Mayan's eyes suddenly brightened. This was a storage magic treasure. In other words, there were many treasures stored inside. The materials that she wanted to repair the Tian Mo Qin must also be inside. Beautiful enchantress of medicine. Heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Beautiful enchantress of medicine. Heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Chapter 3466. Mu Yin looks at Luo Yunxiao with a burning gaze. How do I open it? Luo Yunxiao was a little hesitant. This was because when the yin-yang egg closed, it would form a barrier on the outside. This barrier was not only an energy barrier, but also a complicated small-scale array formation. The only way to open the barrier was to undo the formation. However, the yin-yang egg was named yin and yang, and it required one to inject energy into it at the same time and use divine sense to dismantle the formation. He and Mu Yin were both good at formations, so it was not difficult for them to dismantle the yin-yang egg. But with their spiritual power and divine sense entangled in the yin and yang egg, would Mayan recognize him? Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, Mu Yin said disappointedly, "You don't know how to open it?" She had just tried to use her spiritual power and divine sense to open it, but she soon failed. Luo Yunxiao lowered her long eyelashes and clenched her fists. Inject your spirit energy into the yin-yang egg and control the left half with your divine sense. Mu Yin stares blankly, thinking that she had tried this method before, but it didn't work. However, he still did as he was told. The outer layer of the yin-yang egg is covered with a sealing formation. Try to use your divine sense to find the location of the formation eye. At the same time, Luo Yunxiao also injected her spiritual power into the yin-yang egg, and her divine sense instantly found the position of the formation eye. The moment the eyes of the two arrays were activated, a pure energy surged out from the boundary between yin and yang. Mu Yin suddenly widens her eyes. It's not just because the Tian Mo Qin finally feels a part of the energy that should belong to it. More importantly, when the yin and yang formations fused together, she seemed to feel a familiar energy fluctuation. However, without waiting for Mu Yin to confirm what that energy fluctuation is, the yin-yang egg was completely opened. Luo Yunxiao withdrew the divine sense and spiritual power she had injected into the yin-yang egg. Mu Yin wasn't in the mood to think about that strange moment. All of her attention was attracted by the thing that jumped out of the yin-yang egg. Zither strings. A zither string that was emitting a pale green light was gently beating in front of her. The Tian Mo Qin makes a humming sound, as if it's extremely eager and excited. In the next moment, the zither strings are pulled to fly over, submerging into the Tian Mo Qin. Clang! There's no one playing the Tian Mo Qin, but it makes an impassioned sound like a sigh of satisfaction and also like an excited howl. As the owner of the Tian Mo Qin, Mayan also feels the powerful sword intent from her natal sword at that moment. Even the Dragon Abyss sword that Luo Yunxiao had deposited with her resonated with it, emitting bursts of buzzing and trembling. Luo Yunxiao clenched her fists. At this moment, he was extremely glad that he was wearing a mask. Otherwise, he would not be exposed by the Dragon Void Sword. After a long time, Mayan opens her eyes and recalls the Tian Mo Qin. At this time, the Qin is no longer as old and broken as it was when he first saw it in the Yenwu continent. Although the body of the zither was translucent, it was glossy and bright, as if the most skillful hand in the world had meticulously carved it out of ancient jade. Tian Mo Qin 7 strings. Now that the 7th string, Little Shang, had been repaired, It looked no different from the other strings. But as long as spiritual energy was injected into it and plucked, the little shang string would emit a lustrous glow. The sixth string, Shao Gong, and the seventh string, Little Shang, the main god musician skill Wu. With the perfect Little Shang string from now on, Mayan's zither sound blade could really achieve an instant group attack, beheading 1,000 people. Her graceful feather could increase the strength of thousands of men and horses by several times in a short period of time. Alluring Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. Alluring Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. Chapter 3467. Her heavenly net of clouds could control hundreds of people at the same time, making them attack wherever she pointed. A bright smile appeared on Mu Yan's face. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, only absolute power could allow her to stand on the top step by step. Only by protecting the people she wanted to protect could she stay with the person she loved forever and not be a burden to him. Then, she turned her gaze to the remaining treasures in the yin-yang egg. Luo Yunxiao had been focusing all his attention on Mu Yin, who was leveling up. At this moment, he also followed her gaze. Then, his pupils suddenly shrank. There were still 10 things left in the yin-yang egg. Every one of them was something he had been searching for decades. Yin-yang twin heart, 12 evils of Dutian, 36 stars. 7 of them belonged to the 12 evils of Dutian. If he could get these 7, he would have all the 12 evils of Dutian. And the remaining 3 were the hardest to find among the 36 stars. If he could get these 10 treasures, he would be able to find all the things he had been searching for so many years in this lifetime. Only Yin-yang twin heart was left. Even with Luo Yunxiao's calmness and indifference, he couldn't help but pant heavily at this moment. He could almost hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. He had always thought that he would never be able to collect these 50 rare treasures in this lifetime. How is that possible? It was already extremely difficult for others to obtain 1 or 2 of the 36 stars. He wanted to collect all 50 items. Wasn't that just a pipe dream? His master had told him about this method to change his fate as a form of consolation, to give him a little hope in his despair. But his master had also said, ever since the birth of this fate-changing art, no one had ever been able to collect all 50 rare treasures. So, he couldn't be sure whether this method would work or not. In these years, the results of his search just happened to confirm this fact. Luo Yunxiao had been running around the 3 realms for hundreds of years, but in the end, he could only collect most of the treasures that matched the 36 stars of Dutian. Even with the 10 ultimate formation and the blacktail wood that Mu Yin had given him, there were only 5 of the 12 evils of Dutian. As for Yin-yang twin heart, he couldn't even find a trace of it. In fact, Luo Yunxiao had already lost all hope in these 2 years. Perhaps he was destined by the heavens to have such a fate. No matter how hard he struggled, the outcome would not change. However, at this very moment, the sudden appearance of the 12 evils treasures made him feel dizzy even in his soul. It was like a flame that was suddenly lit in the midst of despair. It swayed, but no one knew if it would extinguish after bringing a glimmer of hope, or if it would eventually start a prairie fire. Luo Yunxiao subconsciously reached out to take the 7 treasures. Just then, Mayan's excited voice reaches his ears. Heavenly Cycle Star Formation. Is this the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation's disc? She picked up an inconspicuous array disc and looked at it from left to right, unable to put it down. Shifting his gaze, he caught sight of another item, and a look of astonishment and excitement appeared on his face. Beckoning to the young man behind him, he said, "Little Guang, help me take a look. Is this the feather of the 9th heaven blackbird?" Light came over to take a look and nodded. Yes. Furthermore, it's the feather of a 9th heaven bird with a bone age of 10,000 years. Great. Mayan was simply wild with joy. Thinking of the rest of the things, she promptly asked Light to identify them. Charming witch doctor. Heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect it. Please collect it. Chapter 3468. Little Light obediently pointed at the items on the ground and recited, "This is the mysterious sea ice soul. This is the hardest 3-star stone between heaven and earth. This is the dark flower amethyst." As Little Light recited a name, Mayan's eyes brightened a bit. When he finished, Mayan wanted nothing more than to hug his cute little artifact spirit and give it a fierce kiss. At first, she had disregarded everything to slaughter the slaughter list and enter Floating Light Island just to save Little Light. She hadn't expected that there would be such a big surprise waiting for her on Floating Light Island, apart from the materials to repair the Tion Mochin. Little Light blushed under Mayan's grateful and joyful gaze and lowered his head awkwardly. But he couldn't help curling the corners of his mouth. Mayan carefully put the treasures back into the yin-yang egg. Just as she was about to put them away, she saw that the man was staring at her in a daze, one hand raised slightly, as if he wanted to take something. Mayan was startled and couldn't help asking, "Do you want these treasures too?" After asking, she couldn't help but hesitate. Each of the treasures in the yin-yang egg was very important to her. If the Lord of the Heavenly Light Ruins really asked for a few of them, should she give them or not? Luo Yunxiao saw the reluctance and hesitation in the girl's eyes, and her chaotic heartbeat slowly calmed. That bit of urgent hope and desire also gradually dissipated. Even if he gathered the 12 evils of Dutian, it didn't mean that he could really defy the heavens and change his fate. If these things could make Mayan happy and help her, that would be enough. Mayan waited for a long time before she heard the man's low, indifferent voice, not interested. Mayan sighed in relief and became happy again. Little Light couldn't help asking, "First host, are you very happy? Are these things very valuable?" Mayan smiled. "I don't know if they're valuable or not, but every treasure here is something my junior master has searched for many years. I heard eldest senior brother say that finding these things is very, very important to junior master. Now that I can find 10 of them for junior master, perhaps I can fulfill his wish. Do you think I'm happy?" Little Light didn't really understand what she meant by junior master, but seeing the first host so happy, he couldn't help but grin. Neither of them noticed the man behind them, who was shrouded in mist and could not be seen clearly. In an instant, his mind shook violently, and he could no longer maintain the mist that was concealing his figure, revealing his tall and slender figure. His hands, which were hanging by his side, clenched into fists and unconsciously pressed against his chest. Because if he didn't do this, he was afraid that his heartbeat would be heard by the girl in front of him, and he would no longer be able to hide it. The energy ripples on Floating Light Island rippled due to his uncontrollable emotions. The whole island seemed to be shaking gently. Mu Yin and Xiao Guang turned their heads. However, there was nothing behind him. Only a golden key was left on the ground. Mu Yin was surprised. "Xiao Guang, where's your master?" Light blinked. "Let's go. Why did you leave without a word?" "What's the key?" Little Light fixed his eyes on it, his face revealing an ecstatic smile. He raised his hand and summoned the golden key, handing it to Mu Yin. "First host, this is the heart key. Only those who obtain it have the right to truly control Tingguang Ruins. Master, the previous master, he left the heart key to you. This means that from now on, you are the master of Floating Light Island. Alluring Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. Alluring Enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect." Chapter 3469. Mayan is dumbfounded. He gave me this Tingguang Ruins? Why? The two of them are unrelated, and she doesn't even know his name. Why would this person give her such an important Tingguang Ruins? Little Light says, "In fact, the original master hasn't been to Little Light Ruins for hundreds of years. Perhaps the original master didn't want it." Mayan is puzzled, but finally accepts Little Light's explanation, because she can't think of any other reason. She clenches the key in her hand and infuses it with spiritual power. The key slowly enters her sea of consciousness. Seeing Little Light's bright and shiny expression full of excitement and joy, Mayan can't help but reach out and rub his head. Little Light, please guide me in the future. Master. Little Light pounces into her arms, hugging her and rubbing her happily. Master, please guide me. At this point, Mayan's goal in Tianguang Ruins has been completed, and there are additional huge gains. Because Tianguang Ruins is going to be upgraded, Mayan still doesn't understand what upgrade means. Mayan returns to Carefree City after bidding farewell to Little Light. Hearing that Mayan has obtained 10 rare treasures that Luo Yunxiao is looking for in Tianguang Ruins, the Carefree School is in a jubilant mood. But soon, the atmosphere slowly becomes gloomy. Little Master suddenly disappeared at that time. It seems that he encountered a lot of trouble. I don't know if he's fine now. If Little Master returns to the Xiojin continent to find us, only to find that the 7 of us are gone, and only Master's tombstone is left in the Carefree School's encampment, I don't know how he will feel. At the mention of Shi Qing's death, the smiles on their faces disappear completely. There are faint tears in Luo Yu's eyes. Now that the 6 of us are reunited, only Big Brother is missing. I don't know how he is now. In fact, Master and Big Brother didn't let me reveal by Zay's soul bead. It was I who couldn't hold back and brought disaster to Big Brother and let Master. Tears fall from her eyes. However, he didn't even have time to lament for a while before a hand pressed onto his forehead and slapped him heavily. Idiot Shao Qi, are you doubting eldest senior brother's strength? We're all alive and well on the floating island. So how could something have happened to eldest senior brother? Chu Moli leisurely took a sip of tea. If we really want to look into the main culprit, it would be Junior Marshall's sister, who told the Xiao Yao sect to never be able to keep a low profile. Mu Yin, she has no words to refute. But, Chu Moli continued, are you all really willing to stay in a remote corner of the heavenly Jade Mountain range and remain unknown for the rest of your lives? Does Master really want us to run away forever and drag out an ignoble existence? There was a moment of silence. Ling Yuxing said hoarsely, absolutely not. If Junior's sister hadn't appeared, I wouldn't have been able to untie the knot in my heart for the rest of my life. This is definitely not Master's wish. Otherwise, he would not have let us study at Starry School. Little Junior's sister, good? That would be great. If it wasn't for Junior's sister, Mayan puts her hand on her forehead and puts on a stop posture. All right, that's enough with the bootlicking. I've always been well aware that this miss is #1 in the world. Everyone couldn't help but laugh out loud. Even Luo Yu's sorrowful frown disappeared. Mu Yin, however, stopped laughing and said seriously, Little 7, do you remember when I said that I would tell you everything I know? The correct chapter of Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby Black-Bellied Dad, will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There are no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend the mobile game bar. Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby Black-Bellied Dad, please bookmark. Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby Black-Bellied Dad, please bookmark. Chapter 3470. Luo Yu was startled. He remembered that Mu Yin had said that she would go to Tianguang Ruins to slaughter a list, and that she would tell him the truth when she came out. However, the successive appearances of Chu Moli, Li Weiran, and Di Mingju had disrupted the plan. Now that she mentioned it again, Luo Yu couldn't help but sit upright, a faint guess forming in his heart. When eldest senior brother was on the verge of death, I used the realm of stars and entered his dream, or rather, his memory, in order to lure him into madness. There, I saw eldest senior brother and Shao Qi when they were young. Mu Yin narrated the scene she saw in Yun Ruhan's dream. Luo Yu listened in a daze. When Mu Yin finished, he raised his head blankly. Sixth senior sister, I don't remember anything you've said. So eldest senior brother really is my brother, blood-related. The others were amused by his reaction. Luo Yu was conflicted. So eldest senior brother treats me so well, because I'm not me. If I were Lan Liu and not his younger brother, would he still treat me so well? What are you chanting? Mu Yin knocked him on the head. Is this the point you should be conflicted about? Isn't the point that you have a blood feud on this floating island, and that you're in a very dangerous situation? Luo Yu rubbed his aching head, meeting everyone's gazes of looking an idiot. He curled his lips, but Six Senior Sister mentioned Imperial Father, Imperial Mother, and that Grand Preceptor who wants to kill me. I don't remember any of them. Without love, without hatred, how can I focus on revenge? In his memory, there was only Master, eldest senior brother, and the Xiao Yao 7. To him, the Lan family empire wasn't his, the floating island wasn't his, and revenge wasn't his wish. He only had two greatest wishes. One was to become stronger, and the second was to protect the people he valued after becoming stronger. Mu Yin laughed softly, her expression full of pampering. All right, our Shao Qi said that he's not interested in revenge, then we won't. Let the grudges of the previous generation vanish into thin air in the previous generation. Luo Yu gritted his teeth, but I can't forget Master's revenge. Slythorn is that Grand Preceptor Yi Chengfeng's lackey, right? I'll make him pay for Master's blood. Mu Yin said, speaking of Master, there's one more thing. She summoned the guards outside. Go invite Ruane Yang and the little monkey. Ruane Yang and the little monkey were quickly led into the room. The little monkey rushed excitedly at Mu Yin. Grasping the edge of the arms of her chair with both hands, he jumped up and down like a real monkey. Miss, did you summon me here because you have a secret mission for our cadet regiment? Don't worry, our cadet regiment will definitely complete the mission and not embarrass you and boss. Iluo, Xiao Tian, and Mu Shan, Yin, and Sek. Over the past few months, the little monkey had been eating and drinking well. Its body was comfortable, and with the medicinal pills provided by Mu Yin to recuperate its body, it had long since become very different from its previous shriveled and small appearance. Xiao, Xiao Xiao, Shan, Xiao Luo Xiao, that said. Said A, and Xiao Xiao, Xiao Luo do. It was a Mu Mu Mu, Long Lin I Lint Mo, and Li Lin Mu Ming. How could such an outstanding, mature, and responsible teenager look like the rascal he was in Gravel Hill? Chapter 3471. Only in front of people close to him would the little monkey show such childish behavior. Xin Rue was the little monkey's mother, Ruane Yang. Back then, she, Butcher Defender, and the others were thrown into the gravel mound. Because she was a woman, she was the only one who only crippled her cultivation and didn't sever the tendons of her arms and legs. For the sake of Wei Guan and the other survival in Gravel Hill. She was once a high and mighty female soul master, but she didn't hesitate to sell her body to earn food and medicinal ingredients. With her weak body, she raised a few big men, and actually helped Wei Mian and the others survive the most difficult 10 years. When he first met Xin Rue, she was already terminally ill. Their bodies were infected with all kinds of diseases, and some were even contagious venereal diseases. On the rocky hill, many men and women would look at her with disdain and spit on her. But Xin Rue had persevered with such a strong will. When Carefree City was established, the Carefree Army was established. Wei Mian, Butcher, and Xin Rue all regained their cultivation. To Wei Mian and the others, Xin Rue, who had contributed the most, seemed to have completely forgotten about her contributions and kept her mouth shut about everything that happened in the past. There was no resentment or self-pity. She just continued to restore her strength step by step and educate her son. Since she didn't say anything, Wei Mian and the others didn't mention it either. But occasionally, there would be some bastards who would point at Xin Rue and insult her for being a slut. Some even wanted to sleep with her for a few more crystals. In the words of these people, since she had already been sold, her body was no longer clean. Why should she still be a chaste lady? However, these people usually did not live to see the sun rise the next day. Moreover, the process of each person's death would be incomparably miserable. Gradually, no one dared to speak rudely to Xin Rue and the little monkey anymore. At this moment, Xin Rue was completely different from when she was in front of the gravel hill. Her complexion was rosy, her skin smooth and exquisite, and her temperament was elegant, composed, and valiant. This made her already beautiful facial features even more attractive and peerless elegance. A few days ago, the butcher shyly ran in front of Mu Yin and said with a red face that he liked a woman and hoped that Mu Yin could be a matchmaker for him. At that time, Mu Yin almost sprayed out a mouthful of tea. She herself had not been able to get married. Now, someone was asking her to be a matchmaker. Does she look like a matchmaker? So Mu Yin didn't wait for Butcher to speak again and directly asked someone to summon Xin Rui. If you have anything to say, say in front of him. You're a man. Why are you being so wishy-washy? If you agree, then get married immediately. If you don't, then don't pester me in the future. It's that simple. After she finished speaking, Mayan consciously withdrew from the room, leaving the place to the two people. 2 hours later, the butcher came out of the house happily. His originally fierce and cold face immediately turned into a silly pig's head from smiling. Mu Yin can't help but be curious. How did you get Rui Nyang to agree? The butcher's face reddened suspiciously. He shut his mouth tightly and refused to speak. Instead, he eagerly asks Mayan when they can hold the wedding. In the end, Mu Yin said lightly, "How can our Xiao Yao school marry so casually? Rui Nyang will have whatever the other newly married women have, and whatever the other newly married women don't have, Rui Nyang will have." The butcher happily went back to prepare 3 matchmakers and 6 betrothal gifts. He didn't hear that Mayan said Xiao Yao School instead of Xiao Yao City. The Enchantress of the Enchantress, heaven-defying baby black-bellied dad, please collect. The Enchantress of the Enchantress, heaven-defying baby black-bellied dad, please collect it. Chapter 3472. The little monkey is twisting around Mayan, acting like a spoiled child. He hears a crisp and tender voice, "Sure, Xiao." The little monkey's figure stiffens, and he immediately keeps quiet out of fear. He respectfully calls out to Xiao Bao, "Eldest brother, do you have any instructions? Is there really a secret mission to perform?" As he speaks, his voice is full of excitement and expectation. Xiao Bao faintly glances at him. He remembers that his mother told him about the little monkey's identity, which is equivalent to his junior brother. He feels quite disgusted. Why are his mother's disciples becoming more and more unreliable? There was Liu Beiyu before, and now there's this little monkey. As the third-generation senior of the Xiaoyao school, Xiao Bao's heart is simply broken. Mayan touches Xiao Bao's head in amusement. She turns to look at Xin Rui. "Rui Nyang, there's something I want to ask you. Do you know Yuan Qing?" Xin Rui is startled. She suddenly widens her eyes, and her voice trembles a bit. "Miss, do you know my father?" When she said this, she had already confirmed this guess in her heart. When the miss came out of the gravel hill, she originally didn't intend to take this group of burdens, until she saw the purple apex fire dagger that her father left for her. She then asked for her and the little monkey's names, and changed her mind. At that time, Xin Rui guessed that the miss might know her father. It's just that for such a long time, she was busy, and she was afraid of hearing bad news, so she didn't dare to ask. Mayan stands up and bows deeply to her. "Qin Jiu, Lung Yuma, Ling Yuxing, and Luo, you also stand up and solemnly salute. Greetings, senior sister." Xin Rui stares at them in a daze, unable to come back to herself for a long time. Mayan seems to see her doubts, and softly says, Yuan Qing is the master of the 7 of us, and also the master of the Xiaoyao school." Xin Rui excitedly says, "So, my father is still alive? He really didn't die that year, and he escaped to the Xiojin continent with the 2 highnesses?" The room was plunged into silence. Mayan and the others show a sad expression, unable to answer her question. After a long time, Luo Yu hoarsely says, "I'm sorry. Master passed away to save me." The hope that Xin Rui had just raised dissipated bit by bit. Her heart sank to the bottom, and a heart-wrenching pain and disappointment spread in her heart, causing her body to sway. Mother! The little monkey also noticed that something was wrong with her and held her hand nervously. Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Did someone bully you? Shinrue forced a smile and reached out to gently rub the little monkey's head. I'm fine. I'm just sad to hear the news of Grandpa's death. Grandpa? The little monkey tilted its head. He grew up in Gravel Hill and did not even have the concept of a father, let alone a grandfather. Mother is not sad. You still have me, Uncle Butcher, and Liberty City. We will always be with you. The little monkey hugged Shinrue and shook her gently, acting like a spoiled child. I don't want to see Mother sad, and Uncle Butcher definitely doesn't want to either. Mother said that the dead will go to heaven. Maybe Grandpa is happily drinking and eating meat in heaven. You child, what nonsense are you talking about? Shinrue slapped the little monkey's head. Is Grandpa someone you can talk irresponsibly about? The little monkey shrunk its neck and shows a fawning smile. The Enchantress of Medicine, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. The Enchantress of Medicine, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, popular bar. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.